living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that chases stupidity into a dark alley into the waiting arms of science. We're going to have another debate, and hopefully tonight it's going to be much more interesting than the one we had last night with Hip Hop Dunce, whose entire argument was, looks flat to me. We've got Team Skeptic and Sean moderating, so I'll pass it over to Team. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing good. Hopefully tonight will be a little bit better than last night. I really hope that that's the way it goes, because last night really frustrated me to another level when it comes to these debates. So I'm hoping tonight will be a little bit different. I'm hoping the non-globe earther, I'm not sure what his position is, but I don't want to make an assumption on his position. So I'm hoping the non-globe earther is actually going to have some kind of proof that we can talk about. But my expectations are not that high.
Well,
but it's not your fault. It's
he's given me stuff that that is definitely talkable. So that's a step above hip hop hippie already. How you doing today, Sean?
I'm doing good. For once, I'll be on camera.
Yes.
Just as I shocked everybody. Hi.
Yes.
How you doing?
Put a face to the voice.
I'm
that's
the
what we need. And our guest today is Howard George Stirrup. Is that right?
That's right. Thank you for having me, Craig.
Welcome to the channel. I think the first thing before we get started is what is your position on the shape of the Earth?
Okay. I'm a globe skeptic. I don't really have set beliefs, so I keep my mind open, which is more scientific, I think. I am convinced that there isn't 8 inches per mile squared curvature, because I've made observations at water level. We'll get into all that after, I guess. I'm convinced that stars are as far as we're told, and I'm convinced that the moon isn't what or where we've been told either. So I'm open-minded to Earth being either flat or a 4th dimensional shape, where there's a flat plane of inertia, and the rest of it, maybe only the creator knows.
Wow. I must say I'm impressed already. You brought a model, which is one step above any globe skeptic, flat earther, concave earther that we've ever had on the show. So I think the way we're going to do it tonight is we'll give you 10 minutes to present your evidence. Just tell me what clip you want me to put up, which picture you want me to put up when you're talking, and I'll put it up for you. And then we can just get into discussing things.
Okay.
I got the timer.
Just to make sure this is clear, this is an idea. This is a depiction of what an electromagnetic field looks like, thanks to ferrocells we can see nowadays. So it's saying that it's a 4th dimensional shape. In other words, something we might not be able to even visualize, like a 4D cube or you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this is just a way to understand why the ancients probably used the yin symbol. That's how I understand it. Is it possible that you keep my pictures after? Because my main argument is that there's enough evidence out there already. And with all due respect, I think that we've all been hypnotized to not see the truth in plain sight. So I would like to show you some evidence, go through some evidence, explaining how we could be mind-controlled with factual evidence, and then afterwards maybe you can join the dots, and if not agree with me and many other people, at least understand us, because we're not all religious fanatics pushing definite models. A lot of us have got open minds, and we're just making inquiries to learn, and we're open to new information if we're wrong. Not everybody, but
okay.
So if I can just do one last thing.
Yeah.
I had an idea, just in case I get sidestepped. I'm going to try and post them in the group chat just so everyone's got... Let's try that. Just a sec, guys. Sorry
Yeah, no
about
worries.
this. Okay, it's too much to fit in. Just give me 2 secs. I'm just dropping it in your chat.
All right. Already far more impressed than pretty much anyone else we've had on.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely give him the fact that he's actually brought something we can dissect.
Yeah.
Which I'll leave that to you till the end.
That's still too big.
That's what she said.
Sorry, there's a 200 character limit, so I'm a little bit...
Oh, on the Discord, yeah.
No,
When did
on
Discord
the
get it?
YouTube chat.
Oh, on the YouTube chat. I see what you mean.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I think I've got the majority. That's that big. Nearly there, sorry about this.
That's all right.
It'll be worth it.
Hey, I say take all the time you need because, again, you showed up and you've actually brought something that we can take a look at. So kudos to you in the most
Thank you.
heartfelt way.
Yep.
I just hope we're not getting into my 10 minutes already.
No. We'll start it as soon as you're ready.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope team paused this because, you know, he did show up last minute, so he wasn't exactly ready to go out the gate. So, yeah, if you still got the time running team, pause it. Give him 2 more minutes then.
Reset it.
Thank you.
I just reset it.
Hey, I'm giving him all kinds of props just because he showed up with something to present.
Which is good.
That is a massive deviation from the norm that we're used to. So, if I was wearing a hat, I would definitely tip it to you, sir.
Thank you.
Well,
I've got to get rid of 6
I'm just
more characters.
glad he knows how to use technology enough to join a call.
Yeah.
There's that too.
That seems to be like an actual hurdle that we have to address every live stream with a flat earther. It's like, is he going to be able to connect?
Just a quick
look,
note to my
just
moderators. Please don't be timing anyone out, any flat earthers or anything, unless they're being hideously abusive. I see Gleam's in there. If he wants to, talk, and that's cool, just let him. I don't think Gleam will be abusive. Don't time him out just because he's saying things that no one likes. So, yeah, and Gleam, I'd actually love a conversation with you at some point. Many things you said to MC Toon I'd like to address.
Floyd Marston, yes, absolutely, I am CGI. Okay.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah, you can start the clock. I'll try my best to get through it all. There's some I didn't drop on the chat, but you've got a bit of it there. So my theory is that globe syndrome is the first step of mass hypnosis. In other words, it's the first step towards more indoctrination. And I don't mean to insult any of your subscribers that are watching, because we have all been indoctrinated in many ways, and if we're wrong, hopefully by conversing with maturity we'll learn our errors. But let's just suppose that we've all been put under a spell so that we can't think for ourselves, because can anyone really say that their thoughts are their own? Is there such a thing as an original idea, or is everything inspired? Hypnosis is where the subject is convinced to focus on something and reduce all the other thoughts until the subconscious thinks that it was your own idea. I've got a friend that's explained this to me, and these are some ways that we're being socially engineered and influenced, which I'm sure no one can debate with me. Repetition. You know, with music, with the choruses or adverts that always come on, it's the best form of mind control. It persuades us because we see it so often or we hear it so often, we just imagine that it is good. We get convinced. Entertainment is a way to engineer us, obviously. Entertainment means to enter the mind and to hold it, the actual word. It distracts us from critically thinking for ourselves. Subliminals, whether people believe in them or not, there's visual and audible subliminals that are subtle suggestions to our subconscious memory. So we might not take it in at the moment, but everything gets recorded. Fanaticism, we just cannot believe that when we love could deceive us, like Stockholm syndrome, or when a person beats his partner, you tend to find the partner thinks the world of them. It's all factual. Humor and sarcasm cause us, you know, when people are sarcastic, and that it causes us to doubt our preconceived ideas. Negative priming, like if somebody farts and they want to blame somebody else, so they claim it first and they point out the most scruffy kid in the class, and boom, everyone thinks it's them. Well, we all go through negative priming when we're told not to believe our own senses. From 3 to 5 years old, we're given the globe and told to believe in gravity and curvature that our senses cannot perceive, or you know, like the force that hasn't been demonstrated to us. So this is a tragic, traumatic memory because we're embarrassed. We're told we're not right about something that until we're told it, we believe's true. So this, in later life, triggers us to react negatively, and we're not able to take in the new information seriously. So we either ignore it or fight it. Fight the flat earth. Mystery and secrecy entices us to go down rabbit holes. Temptation causes infatuation, greed, and dependency. Plus, remember, it's not what you say, but how you say it. So it's often the medium that's more important than the message itself. Prince Charming is the principality of charm. Without getting too religious or anything, it's a seduction, it's a seductive force which causes delusion and provokes an alter ego. This is why scientists, doctors, and even some YouTubers can mislead. Politicians entertain. For over 20 years, we've had the possibility to be self-governed with the technology in our hands, like telephones, and we've got platforms like Facebook, which we could do open source. So with transparency on the coding and transparency on the voting, because we vote on Facebook what we like, what we dislike, we put our own ideas. Why do we have politicians? To entertain us, to keep us distracted and think that we need them. We've got the television, which programs us, as I said, with all of those above mentioned, and it impels us into a state of trance where we're open to suggestion. This is proven by Herbert Krugman in 1969, where he shows that the brain alters from waves to alpha waves, which is a state that where we're not thinking so critically. So with television and all these other techniques, it's very easy to brainwash and socially engineer society. Plus, there's the obvious one, which you do have a image of, the 2 images of censorship, if you don't mind, while I'm talking. The censorship and suppression of information is like putting blinders on a donkey. It guides you down a narrow path of understanding, which obviously affects the decisions we make. So I've been censored on Facebook for recommending the scientific method that people verify the results that I'm claiming to have got from the 3 experiments that we'll talk about after. And Facebook's blocked me from science groups of physics and natural sciences. And I'm only asking people to check and make their own inquiries. That shouldn't be censored, it's not dangerous. Also, I've been censored for asking people to verify the math. And by putting in the online curve calculator, Facebook's algorithms have censored my posts and took them out. And I'm thinking, well, how can math be so dangerous? And this is a point, this is a proof against the globe. Without me knowing what shape the Earth is, Facebook is censoring scientific inquiries in science-related groups, and it's censoring mathematics inquiries in mathematics groups. So it's not like I'm spamming. It's not like it's irrelevant or trying to make accusations or suppositions. I'm asking people to check my math. I'm asking people to check my science. So that is a very strong evidence against the globe. It's obvious that the companies don't want us talking about this. The question is why? Why? Now these are some. Have I still got a few minutes? I'll keep going.
Team.
Okay, I'll try and be as fast as possible. I'm nearly done. Here's just a few hints of mind control. The existence and the recognition of the Flat Earth Society and the actual term, or I like to say trigger word, earthers. Let's be honest, when I'm called a flat earther, it triggers me to respond maybe in a debate form. When people that have been educated with all the scientific knowledge or scientific theories of where we are and the reality we live in, hear the word flat earther, since we were in school and we were shown the Earth tilting with water falling off, with floating through space, which, as you spoke about the other day, you know that nobody believes in that. You know that nobody follows the Flat Earth Society's set beliefs and claims. It's controlled opposition, and it's the first thing that comes up on Google ranking. The question is, why does the Flat Earth Society exist, and why do people like Obama and Google keep promoting it? It's definitely a disinformation to slow down people's inquiries, and again, it's a form of negative priming. The term anti-vaxxers is a trigger, and really, most people like myself are just learning about ingredients that shouldn't be in there, just like we shouldn't have fillings made of mercury anymore. No matter what chemical compound they change it to, there's no need for mercury to be in there, apart from the financial benefit of the company that it helps the duration of the shelf life. It doesn't help us. So when people are saying we'd like to improve vaccinations and inform others about the ingredients, we tend to be attacked due to the fanaticism which people have got towards authority. Where if people research the Tuskegee 40-year syphilis experiment that Bill Clinton apologized for, you'll see that when governments haven't all our best interests at heart, we're like guinea pigs to them. This is all documented and released information. You've got the trigger word vampires, which is just glorifying cannibalism. We're brainwashed, guys. We're accepting all this. Food additive, Cenomix, HEK-293, which I hope people look into, is derived from aborted fetuses. Yes, cannibalism. It's getting normalized all over mainstream, isn't it? We all keep seeing these big famous celebrities promoting
You have 10
blood
seconds.
facials. Okay. Illuminati is really just Satanist pedophiles. Chemtrails is really geoengineering, which was ignored when really it's now admitted.
Stop.
Okay. Right. So.
Disappointed.
Well, I know he does have other stuff that we can talk about, team. But obviously, this is what he wanted to. I know that he wanted to build a case as to why we're being lied to.
There's like four or five more points. If I could rip through them, and then you've got the whole case. You're not uninformed. You've got the whole info. I really can rip through it.
All right,
let's save that for the back and forth discussion.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Save them for later. We'll still get to them.
All right. So I'd like to. So,
thank you.
I'd like to respond. With first of all, about not believing our senses and things like that. The easiest thing that I can say about that is, if I'm to believe my senses, the world is literally an indistinguishable blur. We have tools that allow us to perceive things better than our senses can. Our senses are actually pretty rubbish, and most cases shouldn't be trusted. Adverts
Fight the flat Earth. Fight the flat Earth. Are you just addressing his? You're not
Yeah,
presenting evidence yourself?
No, I think everyone's seen my evidence and stuff that I presented so many times. I don't think
has Howard seen your stuff? That's a big question.
I've been at it for 2 years. I've seen and heard it all. I wanted to change it up a bit.
Okay, so would you rather have Craig address your statements, or do you want him to present his evidence? I'll leave that to you.
Bit of both. I'll leave it to the host. Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you just present evidence, fight the flat Earth?
Okay.
And we'll go from there. You don't have to take the whole 10 minutes if you don't need to, but we'll start it as soon as you're ready.
Okay. All right.
You should have it scripted down to 5 by now.
Yeah. Right. So the easiest evidence that we have that the Earth is a globe that we've been told is simple things like evidence of curvature, like this. Everyone's seen this from Miles Davis many times. The camera height is 210 meters above sea level, in line with the top of those bridges. That's the 4 rail bridges down the road from me. But those mountains behind are over 500 meters, and you have a reference as to what eye level is, because the top of the bridges is the same as the camera height, yet the things in the distance are below that, even though they're higher. So there's clear evidence that there is curvature. If the Earth was flat and not a globe, then the horizon would rise to eye level, which it clearly doesn't. The horizon is always below eye level. The higher you get, the further down it goes from eye level. You can use perspective lines to show this. There's apps that you can get to show that there is, even when you're on a plane, the horizon has dropped. That wouldn't happen if the Earth was flat, and matches with the math that the Earth is a globe. So we can talk about evidence of rotation with things like the Eötvös effect, where you can increase your centripetal acceleration if you're traveling with the rotation of the Earth and you're going faster, and that reduces your perceived gravitational effect and therefore reduces your weight, and vice versa when you're traveling the other way. This has been demonstrated by Wolfie 6020, literally by taking weights on flights going east to west and west to east and showing that there's a difference in the weight. Fiber optic gyros, interferometric fiber optic gyros, are always able to show a drift. And
scope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
Yeah, not here.
Yep. So fiber optic gyros work using the Sagnac effect. They cannot be affected by things outside of the gyroscope. They measure the rotation of literally what they are on. This is why planes have 3 of them to measure yaw, pitch, and roll. And the fiber optic gyro will not only measure the 15 degree per hour drift of the Earth, but if you left it for a year, it would measure the drift around the planet as well, about 1 degree a day. Ferrocells do not work. Light cannot be bent by an electromagnetic field in that manner. That's literally not how ferrocells work. Pendulums are. Well, I've lost that. Let me just get the video up quickly. Don't worry about stopping my time. It won't take a sec. So, if you aren't happy with the a fiber optic gyro, then you can refer to things like the experiment done by the gentleman physicist, where he created a plastic pendulum and used it to calculate his latitude on the Earth based purely on the drift of the pendulum over a certain amount of time.
And the pendulum that's rotating?
So he was in a block of flats. Where's the bit where he's looking up? Right, he's in a block of flats and he's got the pendulum hanging down the stairwell, and he you know, you can see it's not metal. It's actually like a rope type fishing wire, and the pendulum itself is made out of plastic. And he allowed it to swing under its own weight for as long as it would go. And this is the paper that it's on. That is a little dish with ink in, and it's got a little paintbrush on the bottom. And what he found was over, I think, 41 minutes. They stopped it because the swing started getting slower and slower due to obviously friction and gravitation, you know, air resistance, gravitational forces pulling it down. But he takes that angle, and using that angle and the time that it took to do that, and doing some basic maths, you can actually calculate your latitude, which he got as 49.8 degrees. He was about 1 degree off, which is pretty damn close for something so basic as this. But this will work wherever you are on the Earth. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it will rotate clockwise, southern hemisphere anti-clockwise, and you can literally use it to calculate your latitude wherever you are. And the reason that happens is because as the pendulum is swinging, it maintains its relative position to distant stars, and the Earth is literally turning underneath it. It's the principle of Foucault pendulum. But obviously, Foucault pendulum, people complain about it because it has magnets assisting it to keep the swing going. This could not be affected by any kind of electromagnetic field or anything because it's not a big ball of metal or anything. And no matter what material you do this with, you would get the same results. And something as simple as the fact that we have 2 tides every day. There is no explanation for this on a flat Earth, whereas the explanation on the globe Earth fits absolutely perfectly. If you're make the assumption that we're just using Newtonian physics, and it's actually really easy to do the maths. Obviously, we've moved beyond Newtonian physics, in general, but Newtonian gravity is still perfectly acceptable because you can derive Newton's law of gravitational attraction from Einstein's field equations. They are exactly the same thing, but Einstein explained it in a much better way. Obviously, 2 tides are caused by the moon's gravity tugging at the water and pulling it, and also tugging at the Earth, which moves it slightly forward, leaving a bulge behind. You get 2 tides every day. 2 high tides, 2 low tides every day. And every month you have a spring tide and a neap tide, which happens to coincide with the moon, the Earth, and the sun lining up, increasing the gravitational force slightly. So, as far as I'm concerned, those are things that cannot have an explanation on a flat Earth.
I could think of a few, but I'll wait.
I think that I'll leave it there because that for me is pretty conclusive evidence as to the shape and the motion of the Earth.
All right. Now, is it Howard, correct?
Can I reply to you?
Howard, is that your name?
Point? Yeah.
Okay, so let me reset the time. You have 10 minutes to reply to his points, all right? The timer will start when you start talking.
Okay. With all due respect, I've seen the same pictures over and over and over again. I've offered 10,000 euros. Sorry, I offered 1,000 euros in December 2017 in English. And then in Spanish, I went on national television and offered 10,000 euros on national Spanish television. And I've only seen those same images, the same images that you've just used. Especially that one that says it's not that the horizon's not eye level with the water. It's very easy for people to play with the levels of water. I would see more than them images. I would see reproducible photos and videos, but they're always the same doctored images. I'm sorry I don't buy them because I live in Benidorm and I've got the image if you want to share it. I can see buildings from 20 miles away at water level that should be completely hidden. 1, because there's supposed to be 80 meters drop over 20 miles, and 2, because things get a lot smaller as they get further away, as I'm sure you all understand perspective. I shouldn't see any buildings, but I see them all from top to bottom. And in the night time, I can see the street lights along the beachfront 20 miles away. So my primary observations, they beat your secondary information. With all due respect, Craig, you haven't gone and taken them photos yourself. You're judging secondary information. That's not proper science. And also, where you're saying that the horizon does drop from eye level, we know that that's not true by going on the official Red Bull video of the skydive from Felix Boutenberg, his name is. He went up 39 kilometers. Now, that was one of my points. He went up 39 kilometers, and he opens the door, and it's at eye level. He's obviously not pointing down, otherwise he would have fallen. So he's level, the camera's level, there's the horizon when Red Bull opens the door at 39 kilometers altitude. Neil deGrasse Tyson admits that they use a fisheye lens when they step out, yet the other funny thing is, the landmass that we can see, which is all brown, looks like very, very similar distance to the footage we see from the International Space Station, which is supposedly 10 times higher up. So there's two contradictions. The eye level, the horizon is always eye level at Felix Boutenberg's 39 kilometer altitude, and strangely enough, the International Space Station shows a very similar distance, yet it claims to be 10 times further away. Plus, the International Space Station, funny enough, is clinging onto the rotation of Earth, like you assume, but the astronauts are floating inside. So is there gravity, is there no gravity? It doesn't seem to make sense to a lot of people, this. Now, you could explain it, but guess what? O.J. Simpson had a good lawyer that could explain really good a lot of things, but sometimes the data overload isn't evidence, it's just complicating, confusing, and back to the hypnotism, it's just persuasion, and it's not necessarily evidence that's conclusive, is it? When there's contradictory evidence and people making their own inquiries with primary observations instead of secondary information. Your next point was flights. I've spoken to a few pilots. I've got a video of 2 pilots that I was talking to on my last video, or the one before, and they agree that a flight eastbound is pretty much the same as a flight westbound. So where's the difference in rotation? We shouldn't be able to catch up the other way, as you've heard that argument loads of times. The gyroscope, yeah, well, first I didn't see the experiment. I saw a cartoon of the experiment by mainstream media that could be misleading us with entertainment and making us, like all the stuff I said before. That gyroscope, if it was a valid experiment, which we don't know because we haven't done it and we've only seen a cartoon, that could have been measuring rotation of the heavens. The pendulum, I'm sorry, I aren't educated, I'm not informed enough to make a proper debate about the pendulum, but I'm going to say maybe it is the rotation of the skies. Maybe it's the thing with the 2 tides is the sun and the moon do have not a gravitational but an electromagnetic effect on the water, charging as water's conductive, and maybe the day and the night, the change of the light, maybe that's what causes the 2 tides. I'm theorizing, and so are you. You don't know what causes the 2 tides. You only believe what you've been told, with all due respect. So if I can quickly wrap on with my other points. Chemtrails. Everyone treats us with sarcasm and because they've had negative.
Hey, hold on. Hey, hold on Howard. If you're done addressing him, let's go ahead and stop. Let him address your points, and then we'll go to the round where we just openly discuss, and you can bring up your points then. But let's keep it.
Yeah, because it's just a few to close it up.
Yeah. I would just prefer to keep this structure good. So, Fight the Flat Earth, are you ready to address his points?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start the time when you begin talking.
I mean, most of your points that you brought up in the beginning were to do with being programmed by media and stuff. But, I mean, that is just a lot of speculation. I don't watch TV. I literally only listen to music when I'm in my car on the radio, and that's Absolute Radio 90s. I don't feel like I've been programmed by these things. If there is anything we're going to watch, my wife and I sit down and we'll watch something we both enjoy on Netflix when we chill. You're right about the alpha waves changing, your brain waves changing, because television's relaxing. That's what it's there for. But I don't think it is anything that can be considered evidence that we're being programmed in any way. I mentioned about not believing our senses, because ask a blind man what shape the earth is, and then he can't tell you. Ask a deaf person what sound a guitar makes, he can't tell you. Our senses are pretty rubbish in the grand scheme of things. That's why I have to wear glasses. That's why we have tools. That's why we have cameras that can see further, etc. You said gravity hasn't been demonstrated. That's just plainly false. I can refer to the Schehelian experiment conducted in the 19th century, and then again in 1997 by some BBC researchers, where they used the mass of a mountain to show that mass does attract mass, using a plumb bob. Also, you can refer to the Cavendish experiment, which has been recreated recently by someone in this community. Built his own Cavendish experiment and clearly showed with his results that mass does attract mass, as we expect it to. Being censored by Facebook. Facebook is a company. They can do whatever they want. And they have said that they will try and not allow conspiracy theory stuff to be put on. And that's just a decision that a company has taken. I do think that Mark Zuckerberg is possibly an android. I'm not entirely sure. Flat Earth Society has controlled opposition. I hear this a lot. The Flat Earth Society, the only people I ever hear with the argument of the Earth is accelerating upwards, which is what causes gravity. No other Flat Earthers really say that. So I don't really know what the story is with the Flat Earth Society, whether they're just a troll group or not, but I don't think they're controlled opposition, because I don't think there's anyone trying to, fool people into not thinking that it's real. Flat Earth, Obama saying that, Obama doesn't write his own speeches and stuff, right? When Obama said that stuff, there had been a lot of recent interest in the flat Earth because it had been on media and stuff, and they put it in his speech because it meant that he would resonate with people.
Hold on, don't. He's running on his timer. Don't, please.
Anti-vaxxers, mercury, blah, blah, blah. In the past 3 years, there's been no mercury in any vaccinations in the UK. I can't speak for the USA, but mercury has been completely removed in all forms in most vaccinations. Vaccinations work. We literally wiped out polio and stuff, but now due to the rise of anti-vaxxers, it has come back. Vampires being cannibalism. Yeah, I tried to read Twilight. That was awful. That's all I can say about that. Illuminati. I joined the Illuminati on the website. It's the worst secret society in the world. Temptation and stuff. Yeah, of course there's temptation. That's why you have adverts for McDonald's and stuff to tempt you into wanting a burger, and that's how McDonald's make their money. It's literally just called, adverts. It's there for a reason. Science doesn't mislead. Science is a tool that helps you discern what reality is. And when you actually follow the scientific method, which I will ask you to define in a bit, you always come out with the answers of the Earth is a globe. Science never proves anything because that isn't its job. It just gives us the best answers that we have. And I think that's everything you really brought up in your initial 10 minutes.
Well,
all right. Are you done?
Just to quickly respond, if I may.
Yeah.
Well, no. Hold on. We're about to go to a 30-minute. We're about to go to a 30-minute conversational piece. So you can respond there. That's going to be an open conversation. All that we ask is that two things. Number one, you don't speak over each other, and number two, you listen to me and Sean if we tell you guys to stop, so that we can regain control of the conversation. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Howard, we're going to start with you since you've been waiting. You have a couple more points to point out, and I think you wanted to address something. So as soon as you start, we'll start the timer.
Yeah, before I get back onto mine, I'll just stick onto the things you've mentioned. The new Cavendish experiments that supposedly proving gravity could be measuring static electricity, could be moving, it could be measuring other things. If there is a force, call it gravity, then it's just pulling things down until there's solid evidence of curvature at water level. Then gravity might be a force that pulls down, but it isn't proven to pull things towards the center. Gravity has never been manipulated, so it's a phenomena that has been observed, it's been measured. You know, people can assume that things accelerate because of the speed of gravity, but it could be momentum. So there's a lot of theory, there's a lot of debate, because it hasn't been manipulated. It's not the independent variable of the experiment. So until it is, it remains a dependent variable. So gravity still remains a theory, hence the name. Senses.
Wait. If I could respond to that first before you move on.
Yes.
Gravity isn't just a theory. Gravity is a scientific theory. Well, there's the scientific theory of gravity, which is the corroborating evidence that backs up the law of gravitational attraction. And the you're saying about electrostatics being the cause for Cavendish. Well, we don't float in a Faraday cage, so no, it really can't be that. And like I said with the Thessalian experiment, I know I'm ruining the name. I apologise to any Scottish people listening. It was very clear evidence outside of a Cavendish experiment that mass does attract mass, because the plumb bob deviated the amount expected based on the mass of the mountain, and they were actually able to use it to measure the density and weight of the Earth. So gravity absolutely has been demonstrated to be an attraction between all mass. And if you are saying that it's not the independent variable, I'm sorry, but that's literally, you're just quoting Sleeping Warrior, and he doesn't understand what an independent variable and a dependent variable is. The gravitational force is what is manipulated by reducing the distance. We were talking about the Cavendish. The gravitational force is literally manipulated by reducing the distance between the masses, meaning that the gravitational attraction can be stronger. So gravity, the gravitational attraction, the actual amount can be manipulated by moving the masses closer to each other. So that would answer that. That there is absolutely evidence that mass attracts mass, and it's not just a downward force. There has been evidence of curvature at sea level. I just have to say the name soundly. He's clearly shown that there's curvature at sea level.
Well, my point is, instead of asking people to believe my images or my photos or my videos, I'm asking people to check for themselves. And everyone that has come back saying, yeah, well, maybe it's light refraction or this, that, the other. It's all excuses, explanations, theories. Nobody has come back to me in 2 years of offering 10,000 euros on national television that went viral in South America as well. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got
if I was around at the time, I would have certainly challenged that. One of my subscribers
challenged it, Craig. Nobody's provided reproducible evidence of what these few images that keep getting copied and pasted everywhere.
Okay,
yeah? Everyone's going to the first debunk video and saying, yeah, it's debunked. Or everyone's getting pictures off the internet or off mainstream and saying, yeah, it's not true. How many people are doing primary observations of their own?
Here is a primary observation from one of my in fact, I've got a whole bunch of observations that my subscribers have sent me. This is a very good one, clearly showing that the bottom of those wind turbines aren't there. So there's no compression. It's just clear that they are hidden behind the horizon. And if I could just refer back to your picture that you showed, where is it? This one. Those buildings, the bottom of them isn't there.
Fata Morgana, you know all about that, mate. Come on.
Yeah, and my point being that if the Earth was completely flat, then we'd be able to see them most of the time. There is no reason why there should actually be a horizon at all on a flat Earth. And just looking at this picture says to me you don't really understand what gravity is, because no one ever says that water should do those things. Water will go to its point of lowest potential because there is a force acting on it. Water isn't sentient in any way. It literally just reacts and conforms to forces that are acting on it. If there's bumpy stuff underneath the surface of the water wouldn't, naturally do that. However, you can see cases when you have sandbanks and stuff where, as the tides are coming in and out, the water will slightly conform to the shape of what's underneath it, again, because there's forces acting on it. So, I would disagree highly that there isn't any reproducible evidence, because I get sent evidence all the time by so many people. I've got hundreds of emails of people sending me pictures that they've taken themselves. Me personally, I'm disabled. I can't get out of the house very often. I don't have the ability to just nip down to the beach and go and do these observations myself, because I am disabled and kind of stuck in my house. And just saying it's second-hand evidence is what we call a genetic fallacy, because that's not what science is about. Science isn't about everyone doing it for themselves, otherwise we'd never get anything done.
Can I pause to just ask a question real quick that I'd like to clarify? That challenge that you had, was that the one that Eric Dubay was pushing like a year and a half ago?
Don't think so. I just got promoted in South America and Spain, and I promoted myself.
Okay, I just want to make sure that wasn't the same one I was thinking of, because that one Eric Dubay said that they would only allow evidence that they accepted it as credible evidence, and that kind of rules out them as judges. But they were the judges too. So
no, I think you're talking about.
I just want to clarify that wasn't your challenge,
Sean. I think you're talking about the one that they won the lawsuit because the evidence wasn't what was asked, aren't you?
No, that was a different one.
All right, okay, no worries. But yeah, that's my points for that. There is evidence that there is curvature. When you said about this, you can manipulate the levels, whatever, but no, that's the point of what, as a globe skeptic, flat earth, or whatever, you will admit that water is at level, right? And in that case, both these tubes are level, and the eye is level with it. So, and the horizon is below.
Level.
Sorry?
It would be very easy to fake that experiment, wouldn't it? You just put a little bit less in one and the other, or you have to stick it a little tilt. It's very easy to fake that experiment. It'd be much better that people check for themselves, wouldn't it?
Okay, have you heard of Rory?
Themselves. Sorry?
There's a guy called Rory who, I don't know if I can find the video right now, but he literally took a device like this up a mountain and did it, live in a video. And what you're saying about putting more water in one side than the other, I don't think you understand what this is. There is liquid all the way along this in the pipe at the bottom and going up the sides. And that is why we can say that it's level, because the water is equal on each side, and it is also along the bottom. It's not just in the tube further away and towards you. It is in the whole apparatus, and then it finds the level. It doesn't, because water doesn't do anything. It reacts to forces. But because there is...
Where you hold the camera in relation to that liquid would also affect what you see in the background being level or not.
And that is the reason why that he has the reference of the two things there. So if the camera was below or above it, then those water lines wouldn't be level. That's literally the point of what we're showing there.
So what happened with Red Bull? How come he could see the horizon at eye level when he was 39 kilometers away?
That camera wasn't eye level in any way. It wasn't designed to be eye level.
He would have fallen out.
No, the camera
wasn't level. The whole capsule, he would have fallen out.
The camera.
He walked out and stood on the platform before he jumped. It was level.
Right,
and when I'm on an aeroplane, I can look out the right window and I can look out the left window simultaneously, and the horizon's at eye level on both sides of the aeroplane, and the aeroplane's much higher than your friend's little water stick.
So,
can I just mention something else? You were saying your senses can't be trusted.
absolutely.
Well, tools need our senses, and tools verify our senses. So I'm asking people to verify at water level with their eye, and then check with a camera. I'm asking people to make a video of a star or a planet, preferably Venus or Sirius, and watch the video in slow motion and see if you can find any distortion in these twinkles, because I only see high resolution.
You want to go to the
geometric
stars?
Patterns.
Right. Okay,
they're beautiful.
That's cool. We can do this. Absolutely. Because, right, you say, let's get your picture up, right? The 3 lights at the bottom, that's what you see if you zoom in on a star, right? That's what you're saying.
With better cameras, you can even see better quality now. That's
okay. How about this?
Years old.
How about this?
That's very pretty, but it's more likely to be Photoshop, isn't it?
Nope, absolutely not. It was taken by someone that I know personally. Here's his apparatus where he's taken it. The thing on the left is the tracking. The thing on the right is what it sees. It was taken with this apparatus. And he got a whole bunch of absolutely gorgeous shots. If you use something that's better than a P900 or a P1000, you can actually see what the stars really are. And these are the images that you get if you actually use a real thing that is designed for it. This is one particular one that he likes. And this is actually part of the pillars of creation that NASA has shown before. And you can see the dog's head in the middle there. So, and again, you know, this is his own apparatus, pictures that he's taken by looking into the sky with the correct equipment. And it is not those twinkling little lights. It is what we're told. And this isn't, you know, NASA or some big media organization. This is one of people that watch our videos and stuff. And this is his own apparatus that if you've got enough money, you can go and buy yourself. So, no, I'm sorry, that completely destroys the nonsense of the stars and little twinkling lights out of focus, because this is what you see if you look with the proper equipment. And that looks nothing, absolutely nothing like.
That's the beautiful thing about science. It's supposed to be reproducible. So
and this is absolutely reproducible. This is the equipment that he said.
I'd like to point out.
Why I'm recommending
hold on.
that
I'd like to
everyone
point
goes
out.
and checks.
Howard, just a second. I'd like to point out. Howard, I'd like to point out that Geistview is the one that took those images. He's been flooding us with a bunch of these images that he has taken himself on his own equipment, with it showing here. He's actually in the chat now. These images are absolutely gorgeous, and they have never been touched by NASA.
Yeah, and you know, this is the equipment that he uses. The computer on the left, it shows you the tracking that he uses to pinpoint where he wants, and that image on the right is what his telescope camera is seeing when it's looking at that point. There's so many more that I can show you, but I'm sorry, it completely.
I can show you conflicting evidence as well of the same stuff. That's why I recommend people go and all your subscribers, please go and check for yourselves. Don't believe me. Don't believe Craig. Go and check for yourselves.
With respect, the images that you will show are taken with things like a P900, P1000. They aren't telescopes. They aren't designed to look at the stars. The equipment that Geistview uses is literally designed to look at the stars. And it is a tool. And anyone, if they want to go and do this, can do it themselves. So I'm sorry, but it does completely destroy the nonsense that the stars are just these 3 little twinkling lights, because, oh my God, look at that. And that is a picture that he took himself with his own equipment. And unless you're flat out calling him a liar, then there really isn't any rebuttal to that, because this is what you see if you use the correct equipment.
I'll have to check with a telescope like his and record it and then watch it in slow motion to verify if there is any reality to what I'm seeing now, because it looks like Photoshop Disney to me, guys. I'm sorry.
So you're basically calling him a liar.
I'm not buying it. With all due respect,
there's the evidence there.
That's my primary observations. So secondary information that conflicts with my primary observations, I'm going to keep an open mind. But on to my next point.
Okay.
Moonlight chills water. I've made the experiment twice. In the waning phase of the moon, that's the full moon or within a week or so, as close to the full moon as possible, you leave, just like the image depicts, you leave 2 glasses of water outside and unsheltered. I'm sick of people using this excuse to not do the experiment for themselves. Put the glasses outside, not sheltered, one in the shade of the moonlight, one in the light of the moonlight. And if you need to put a full of something to give shade so it hasn't been in the sun, you increase the conditions so that you've got strict conditions, and repeat the experiment during the waning phase and see for yourselves, guys. And guess what? If magnifying glass, it'll decrease even more than 2 or 3 degrees. It'll decrease 5 or 6, which proves we haven't been to no rock in the sky reflecting sunlight. It's a light.
Right. Okay.
It either has a cold light or it has a retracting heat light. We don't understand what light is. I recommend everyone check out Ken L. Wheeler. He's showing that there's a lot more to the reality than we've been told. He's written books on magnetism, and he says that photons might not exist. It might be a propagation of the ether.
Well,
I don't know, but it's giving me more to think about and open my mind that maybe we're supposed to get rid of obsolete theories and keep looking into science.
Okay, all right, Howard. So I'm sorry, but radiative cooling is the answer you're looking for. So let me explain to you what radiative cooling. Let me explain to you what radiative cooling is, because I really don't think you understand. Well, I'm going to explain. So, during the day, the Earth receives a whole bunch of energy from the sun, and when the Earth is facing away from the sun, that energy radiates back out. Now, if this is radiating something out, okay, but there's something blocking that going out, i.e., in the moon's shade, it's going to be warmer because less energy can escape back out. If there's nothing stopping it, more energy will escape, meaning it will be colder. That is the answer for that. And there isn't. Wait. There isn't. No, I've done the experiment. I've literally. Where's my thermometer thing?
Do it without a shelter. Do it without a shelter above it. Okay?
Yes.
Do it again.
No. Wait. Stop. Howard, stop. I've done it with when you don't have anything above it, you get a colder thing because the heat can radiate back out. That is how physics works, and it's exactly what we expect. It's exactly what. Wait! Please stop interrupting me. It's exactly.
I'm sorry, but you misunderstood what I said.
No, look, exactly what we expect to happen. Unsheltered, yes. If you have something.
Unsheltered.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here so I can actually explain. I think I actually understand what you're saying here, Howard. He's got 2 unsheltered glasses. He's taking a magnifying glass over one of them.
I've never seen a magnifying glass increase the cooling factor. So
try it.
Have you done that with a magnifying glass?
Yes.
That's what he's saying his experiment was.
I did both glasses uncovered. So you can't use the radio.
I would like to see that, because I've never actually seen a magnifying glass doing it. And in this picture, all right, where you're saying, there is still being blocked from the heat escaping because the wall will have a shadow casting on, so there'll be less heat escaping. And radiative cooling is the answer you're looking for. And the reason I can say it's not such a thing as cold light is because...
Craig, be honest, that's
Craig,
an assumption.
that's not his argument. His argument doesn't have to do with having one in the shade and one in the moonlight. He's got both in the moonlight, completely unsheltered. They're not surrounded by anything, and he takes a magnifying glass to one of them, and his claim is that one cools down.
Well, I've never seen that. I've literally never seen that. But wait, if I can then explain that we do know what light is, very much so. We know that photons exist. As femtophotography, you can literally image the wave of a single photon, and quantum theory and everything confirms that we know what light is. Quantum theory is the most Quantum theory is the most experimentally proven theory that there is. And with things like the double slit experiment, we know how light acts, and we know that it's a probability wave and things like that. We know exactly what light is, and there is no such thing as cold light. We have been to the moon 100% because I've bounced lasers myself off of the retroreflectors that they left on the moon, and because we know the speed of light, we could actually tell how far away it was. So we have been to the moon. That's been verified by not just NASA, but many, many other space agencies that have seen the landing sites and everything. There's never been any evidence that I haven't been able to debunk that the moon landings were fake. The reflective light off the moon is exactly what we expect it to be. And light cannot cool things because that's literally not how light works.
That's not how we understand light. Yet when we learn more, we redefine a theory and rid of obsolete theories. So the whole point that there's people out there calling themselves flat earthers, globe deniers, globe skeptics, whatever, they're recommending that people make their own inquiries and help verify the results with repetition. That's my point. We should all be going out and making this observation at water level, and let's see who's right, Craig. I know you might not be able to do it yourself, but I recommend to everyone that can do it. I recommend everyone do the moonlight experiment in different ways to try and not just debunk it, try and figure it out. Because we can't debunk something when we're uninformed. We can't debunk something if we're misinformed with secondary information. So whenever possible, we should check things for ourselves. Self-evident truths from primary observations are much stronger than any explanation or data overload from secondary information. And all space agencies are an umbrella. They're all working together, just like the Antarctic Treaty proves that there's shadow governments because it's survived cold wars and stuff. How can the International Space Station be up there if there's different people at war? But just to say that point that you said about you can't trust your senses, we can't trust tools without our senses, and tools only amplify our senses and confirm our senses can see. Fata Morgana, the hologram effect, is reproducible, observable, measurable, where curvature isn't. Curvature's a big debate, obviously, because you've been debating it now for 2 years or something yourself. So that's why I recommend everyone keep doing your own primary observations, because we're being censored for recommending primary observations. We're being censored for talking about the map. Why would companies want to silence us if it wasn't of some danger to their industry? Globe syndrome stops us from traveling mentally and physically. We'll come back to the same place. We don't think we can get anywhere without them. But this just is it okay if I rip through these last and then I'm not in a rush to go anywhere if you want to chat about.
I'd like to address what you said about the astronauts shouldn't be floating on the space station, because that really says to me you don't understand the model you try to debunk. Because yes, well, the astronauts, they have about 88% of the gravity we do on Earth, but the ISS is in free fall, right? It is falling towards the Earth constantly, and that is why they float. The same as if you get the vomit comet, the parabolic flights. As you're going down, you're free falling, they float. But the thing is with the ISS, as with other satellites, as they're in free fall, they are also going away. So their speed, their velocity keeps them from actually going to the Earth, because they are always falling away from the Earth and towards it. And once they're in the orbit, that's what happens.
I appreciate the explanation. I appreciate your effort. I do understand it. I'm convinced by it. It sounds a little bit fairy tale. And the only depictions of our solar system are cartoons. And when you watch one of those cartoons that move, it's not to scale. And if it was to scale, it would look even more ridiculous. So I'm not convinced. It's not that I don't understand them. But thank you for giving me the explanation. It's like I say, O.J. Simpson probably did it. But he's really good at giving explanations and all that kind of mind control stuff to get him off from being found guilty. Did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, and you keep saying that it's not reproducible, that there's curve, but Red's rhetoric has been literally proving there's curve for a whole bunch of for ages. Now, this is images that he took himself, one closer up and then one further away, and when you actually compare them, you can see that either those people are drowning because they're underwater, half the building, or it's being obstructed by something. It goes back to my point that there's no reason on a flat Earth that there should be curve. And you'd love to bring up the Felix Baumgartner thing, but as you can quite clearly see from here, there is curve literally in the pictures of Felix. And it's been shown that none of those cameras were eye level. There's no reference markers to say that they're eye level. And again, it just doesn't match with anything that the flat Earth should ever show.
Which is why I recommend people go and make their own photographs and observations with their eye, because I don't see this in reality. I only see these distorted images on the internet that nobody's ever been able to send more than just these few that are floating around. I believe they're fake.
I've shown you some today.
Or as you guys believe that light refracts and it makes holograms and mirages and stuff, well, yes, there is truth to all this stuff. So obviously it works both ways, okay? So just because we're having an optical illusion that doesn't account for the whole drop that we're supposed to lose. I've had people saying, see the base of those buildings on your picture. And I'm like, we shouldn't see the buildings at all. You're distracting yourself from the main thing. Check the math, do the distance, check the math, make the observation.
I do have to correct your math. I do have to correct your math because
I'm talking to all people.
8 inches per mile squared isn't the curvature formula for Earth. That maps
but it's
out
accurate until 2,000 miles. I've checked
not completely accurate.
It's pretty accurate until 2,000 miles. I've checked with loads of mathematicians that aren't flat
It's
earthers.
still not a correct representation. And the picture I'm showing you right now is, again, it's someone, MC Toon. He's in the chat right now. That's mine. I did it myself. This is an app that shows you what is eye level, and the moon is below eye level. And that is literally not possible if the Earth is flat. You know, that is a first-hand bit of evidence from someone that I personally know. You know, so these aren't things that are going around on the internet and stuff like that. This is literally people that have done it themselves and sent me the information. I'm not in a position to do it myself, so I have to rely on other people. But MC Toon could come in and say, that's mine, I've done it, and then it would be first-hand information.
But it suggests something. It definitely isn't definitive, because no one else is coming out with these kind of things, and I don't even know what I'm looking at. I appreciate what you've expressed, but that doesn't prove nothing to me. It just shows me a distorted image that I haven't been able to check for myself. He's on an aeroplane.
That's the genetic fallacy. Yes, he's on an aeroplane, and he's got an app that shows what is eye level, and as you can see, it's perfectly level. The things on the side show that. And the moon is below the eye level. So it is evidence.
Get smaller with distance, and
they don't drop below eye level, though. Yes, things get smaller with distance, absolutely, 100%. So could you please tell me why the sun never changes in angular size?
Because you don't know what the sun is, and neither do I. It could be a reaction that we're looking at it, so it doesn't actually. It could even be that it's not a physical.
Have you heard of spectroscopy?
Sorry.
Have you heard of spectroscopy?
I'll look into it.
Well, we know exactly what the sun is because we can measure what's coming from the sun, and also there is more and more technology all the time. The Solar Parker probe is actually within 3 million miles of the sun at the moment, gathering information, telling us exactly what it is. So you're just saying, oh, it might not be real, but that's not really an argument because it's a tool that was created. I've spoken with people that actually worked on that project, the Solar Parker probe, and we can receive the data from it. You can even use stuff online to track where it is and follow it and stuff. You won't be able to see it 'cause
Right.
it's close to the sun, but you can,
Right.
the data that comes back from it. So we do
Yeah.
have tools, better tools than we've ever had, that show us we do know what the sun is. We're studying it in more detail so that we can learn a lot more about it. But yes, we do know what the sun is. It is a massive ball of plasma that is powered by a nuclear fusion core.
I'm sorry, but even if these tools are reading things, they are just reading what's emitted by the sun. No one's been to the sun. No one's seen what material it would be made of if it was material. It's possible that it isn't even a physical object, so it might not respect the laws of physics. It could be a reflection of a physical object on the firmament. I'm theorizing, but so are you. You can gather information, but it's not conclusive. Please be honest about that at least. And if the moonlight does turn out to that we don't understand light, and please do check out Ken L. Wheeler, because you might learn something new and have a bit more of an open mind.
I've got quick questions for you.
He explains better than me.
Guys, 30 minutes up. So let's figure out what we're gonna do moving forward because the 30 minutes is up.
I just want to ask one quick question. I mean, we can go on for a little bit longer if you like. But
I'd love to.
Well, I have some questions too. I have a few.
I
have a couple of questions to ask as well. So
I do want to ask one specific one about. So you're holding when you did the magnifying glass thing. How close was the magnifying glass to the water? To the glass of water?
Well, I did it quite close because
Right.
I saw a guy doing it on YouTube called The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, and he used a big television screen and he had it like meters away. It worked for him and it worked for me. He got more of a decrease than I did. While you're talking about the moon, Craig, I'm glad you're asking because you can check this for yourself.
Let me finish my.
Shouldn't drop below eye level. Just
Yeah.
to get back to your point, you said the moon shouldn't be under eye level. That would be if we were on land, but if you're on an aeroplane, then there's nothing under your eye level. So maybe the rules
Not
are
if the Earth's
changing.
flat.
You know, maybe what would go.
No,
Let me just finish.
If the Earth's flat,
Let me just finish.
no
Let me
matter
just
how
finish.
high you
Make sure
are, there's
understand
going to
me.
be a horizon. There's going to
Hold
be.
on.
Let me just say what I'm saying.
I know. I want to jump on it too, but I'm just saying, hold on.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Craig. I get what you're saying, but it's just, I'm not sure. You know, I'd have to do the experiment myself. But before I do that, I'd let everyone do the simple experiments, like I say, at water level. That's easy. And check the moon temperature, the waning phase of the moon.
Yeah, why hasn't it ever been done in the other phase though? But anyway, I've just had a thought about the magnifying glass and that, right? What if the magnifying what if the magnifying glass is absorbing heat? You know, it's going to be metal and glass. That's going to absorb heat and then increase the radiative cooling. So I think physics can explain that.
Why isn't the other one dropping in temperature? You've got two glasses of water. One stays the same. The one that's not in the shade, neither are sheltered, like I say. The one that is in the moonlight will drop.
As I've just explained, one will have something closer to it that is absorbing more heat. Therefore, the radiative cooling would be increased.
Great. Put 4 glasses in the shade. Put 4 glasses in different parts of your garden that aren't touched by moonlight, and leave 1 in the moonlight, or leave 2. Just keep trying. Prove me wrong instead of making assumptions. And I'm not talking to you, Craig. I'm talking to everybody. We've got to stop assuming
can I ask
from
you a
secondary
question?
information and preconceived beliefs that we've understood.
Howard, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Okay. So is it your assertion that the photons coming from the moon are what's responsible for cooling the water down? Is that what your assertion is?
I imagine that Ken L. Wheeler is onto something, and that actually light doesn't travel. It's a propagation of the ether, so it's the ether illuminating as the vibration passes through it, kind of like sound.
Well, then how
and here's
would
the point.
the moonlight cool down the water? Hold on. How would
just trying to answer you. Maybe
how
the
would
moon
the moon
retracts.
cool down the water?
I'm trying to tell you in this sentence. Maybe the moon, the negative polarity that retracts energy. So maybe light doesn't produce cold, but maybe a negative polarity of a propagation of ether would explain why the moonlight chills. I'm theorizing. I only know what my observation
when you say
tells me.
what do you mean by negative polarity?
Okay, so there's frequencies and hertz in music, yeah? So if you go up, then it would be positive. If you go down, it would be negative, a minus, withdrawing,
Right.
retracting.
Okay, so you do
Negative.
understand that the sound
Well,
wave
the
is still a
beam
propagating wave that carries energy. Yeah, I understand that. But do you understand that in your analogy, when you talk about the lower sound notes, they carry energy with them? Do you understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't subtract energy from the environment around them. They carry energy. That's why I'm asking you to explain what your negative polarity means, because okay, so let's just assume that it's a photon that cools, okay? Because that's basically what you're saying. You're replacing this weird polarity thing with whatever, when we could just say that it's a photon that cools. We have a photon that we're saying that photons don't cool. You're saying there's a photon out there that does. For whatever reason, it has a property that cools, okay? There's been an experiment that's been done to prove that this does not work for you guys. It's because as the moonlight crosses over a sensor, you would see a gradient of temperature change, right? So when it's in the shade, it would be warmer, and then as the moonlight swept over it, it would be cooler, and then as the moonlight passed it, it would start getting warmer again. Now, there's experiments out there that have been done in controlled situations that don't require you holding a magnifying glass up or doing anything like that, that show with absolute certainty that there is no cooling gradient that goes on as the moonlight sweeps over the sensor. If the moonlight's cooling supposed to cool the sensor down, why does that not happen? And that was done by a member in our community and posted on Greater Sapiens channel.
Where's Wally?
But you're still talking
that was
about
Where's
photons.
Wally? Okay, great. Oh, one of my favorite people. Where's Wally? That was Where's Wally that did that. So can you explain that? If the moonlight's cooling it down, why does it not cool it down as a gradient?
Again, if the moonlight isn't shooting out photons, yeah, like, because here's what Ken Al Wheeler says, just so you understand light.
Hey, Howard, I think you're missing the point. No, yes, you're hold on. You're missing the point. Hold on, hear me out 1 second, okay? You say that when light is not exposed to when water is not exposed to moonlight, it's naturally warmer, right? You're saying that you take two glasses, exact controlled situation, and moonlight's only shining on one of them. The one of them that has moonlight shining on it will be cooler, correct?
Yes. After about 30 minutes.
So is it the moonlight that's cooling down the water?
Obviously, because there's no other factor.
Okay, so when the water starts in the shade and the moonlight sweeps across the water, why is the water not starting warmer, getting cooler, getting maximum cooler when the maximum amount of moonlight is on it, and then getting warmer again as the moonlight goes past it? Why does it not register that on the sensors? That kind of destroys the claim you're making right now, and it's in a controlled environment where there is no human interaction.
And the picture that I'm showing on screen right now kind of backs that up as well, because with what I said about a magnifying glass would increase the radiative cooling, because this is an infrared image of a magnifying glass over a glass of water, showing that the magnifying glass is really quite cold compared to everything else. So that explains that. That's proof there. Infrared light showing you what is happening.
First of all, I don't understand how that is definitive evidence of every other experiment that people have done. And secondly, the experiment isn't necessarily with a magnifying glass. That's a bonus. Check normal moonlight with normal shade, nothing sheltered, see it drop in temperature. Then put a magnifying glass for another half an hour and watch it drop.
Howard,
No, but let me answer your other question.
You refuse to address, hold on. You're refusing to address what I said, but you're refusing to address what I said, and then you just go on saying that moonlight does this. And then when I say, but what about this experiment that shows that moonlight has no interaction on it as it sweeps across? Not someone holding a microphone or a magnifying glass. Why won't you address that point?
I would love to. It's just that we got back onto the magnifying glass with that picture, didn't we? So You're talking about a totally different experiment where you wait for the moon to pass. Come on,
that would
think
explain
about
it.
There's going to be a lot of time for that moon to be not in. It's going to be in the shade, then it's in the light, then it's in the shade. There's too much time passing. There's so many atmospheric changes.
Right.
Why not just do it simple and put one in the shade, one in the moonlight, check the temperature, wait 30 minutes, check the temperature again, and then tell me what your results
here's the
are.
nice thing
Because
about
it's not
Wally's
a
setup.
controlled experiment.
Yeah.
Let me explain Wally's setup for you real quick. He has a series of sensors that he has mounted to a board. And as the moon rises, it lights up one sensor at a time. There is no temperature variation at all that correlates with the moonlight hitting those sensors.
What are those sensors
As
made
it progressively, they're thermometers.
of? All right.
All right,
Like
you
I
can
They're
show
said,
temperature
one.
sensors.
You can show one.
all I know is it chills water. Now, is it that the light is cool?
But it doesn't. We
That
just
would
showed
mean
you
it
it
was a
doesn't.
photon. That would make it a photon. Or is it ether, propagation of ether, that is just retracting from a conductive
Okay, well,
liquid?
we know the
I'm just
ether
asking
isn't.
people
We
to-
know the ether isn't a thing. Mux and Morley, Mux and Gale, Sagnac Aries failure. There's so much evidence that the ether is not a thing. Because if there was, then
What
ether
about-
wind would have been detected during the Mux and Morley experiment, and it wasn't. So the ether has been eliminated from science because we know that the ether isn't a thing. Just quickly, you said the sun isn't a physical object, but this is a photo taken with a solar telescope that anyone can buy, and that looks like a bloody physical object to me.
All right, hey Craig, can you share my screen so Sean can explain this experiment?
Yes, one
right here?
second. I've lost you. Where is it?
It's right there, Craig.
I know. I have to get it on my thing.
Okay.
The moon
You see
looks
that
solid
Go
as
ahead,
well,
Sean.
doesn't it?
Right, bear with us one
Thank-
sec, Howard.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you see that little brown bar in the middle of the floor? Go back to that, Skeptic.
Yeah.
Okay, you see that little bar that has like 4 little prongs sticking up the top? If you can put your mouse over that, Skeptic. There's a piece of electrical tape to the right of it. That bar right there, that's 4 temperature sensors. They literally do nothing but measure temperature. And what Wally's done is he's placed this to where as the moon rises up over his house, it will hit each of those sensors in series. You know, it'll hit that one farthest away from the house first, then it'll hit the next one closer to the house, and then the third one, and then the fourth. And he actually recorded the data from these sensors until the moon lit up all 4 sensors. None of them registered a heat difference because of moonlight.
What's in them?
All right, I'm gonna play that so
Mercury,
you
yeah?
can see it.
No, what do you know? What type of thermometers they are?
Mercury,
They're just
I guess.
sensors.
Right
They're
here.
electronic.
Hold on.
So measuring infrared
There
light.
they are right there.
So it's not water, is it? It's not the same experiments. I don't know
Oh
what
my
results
God.
that's going to give.
So, what your contention is that moonlight only cools water and nothing else?
That's the only thing I've experimented. That's the only thing I can comment on. Everything else is theory, and I'm judging your friend's secondary information. I'm just telling you my observations and asking people to verify them. Complications without excuses and
There's
explanations
no
of how
excuses.
it's wrong.
This just demonstrates 100% that moonlight doesn't cool anything because it
I can say
doesn't
that
show a
my
temperature
experiment
change.
demonstrates is that it does. So
Well,
the
no,
only way
because
to verify
what were the controls in
moonlight
your
is-
experiment?
Like I said, the only way to verify is to repeat the experiment
Yeah,
with
Howard.
increased controls.
What were the controls? What were the controls in your experiment?
I had 2 books underneath each glass to make sure that the surface temperature wasn't a factor. I poured the water from the same tap before taking it outside to make sure that the water was the same temperature. I checked with 2 thermometers before, and I checked with the 2 thermometers after. And I did the experiment on 2 nights, and I have to keep saying unsheltered. So no radiative cooling.
And that
Please
explains
verify. Please verify.
That,
Because
that,
with enough
Well, I can
repetition,
say for
I'll
sure-
be proven right or wrong.
Well, just for the simple fact that you said that you haven't done it yourself, we can move on from the point because you're not going to accept anything that's third party.
Okay. Now, I did want to address one more thing that was in this particular picture. Over thousands of years, there's the stars haven't changed, right? Do you is that what you say? The stars have never changed?
Well, I'm saying that this Orion's belt is still in line with the three pyramids of Giza, which we can
Okay, so this is
were built 10,000 odd years ago.
This is historical almanacs that sailors used, and over the years they have had to update the position of stars so that they don't get lost. You can go and check this for yourself on mctoon.net. Thank you very much, mctoon. The stars absolutely do change their positions at night over the years. However, not all are going to as much because some will be in alignment with the axial tilt of the Earth, meaning that they won't change quite as much. But the main thing is that all the stars that you see at night with your naked eye are a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of our galaxy that is going around the center of our galaxy with us. So their position isn't going to change much. However, there is position change, as these historical almanacs show definitively, because if they weren't updated, sailors would not have been able to figure out their position and know where they were going. So the stars absolutely do change their position over the years. Polaris,
Really?
Our North Star, has even changed.
So they say, but how come the zodiac's still the same? They depicted it in as the Mayans and the Egyptian ceiling of
actually, we just changed some of our dates for the zodiac because they don't line up anymore.
Yeah, they added an extra zodiac, right? Because
No,
I don't know about adding one, but they shifted the date range on several of them because they don't line up anymore because we've drifted so much.
Sorry, yeah. So they actually had to change the dates of the zodiacs because it didn't match up. So that actually,
I almost became a Leo because of it.
The Gregorian calendar.
No, that's because the stars have been drifting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
I almost
looking
became
at
a Leo.
historical
ask
evidence.
another point?
Yeah, can I just say this really quick?
can I bring
I'm
up
looking
something
at
real quick?
historical evidence that's
Yeah.
carved in stone, and you're comparing it with some sailor's print off on old paper. I stick with the stone inklings of the Aztecs, Mayans, and the Egyptians.
Yeah, but we've now
that
had to
still
change
have
them.
the pyramids in line with Orion's belt.
But we've
because
now
they
had.
knew a lot more than we understood.
You're missing the fact that we've now had to change what they are.
So they
Can I
say,
ask you a
but
question
that
about
doesn't
your?
match up
Hey,
with
hold
the
on. I
historical
want to
evidence.
address your stone. Can I address your stone tablet thing that you trust in so dearly? Do you know what the Egyptians who they wrote on stone and shit? Do you know what their North Star was? The name of it? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't Polaris, which is our North Star. Okay, you don't know. It's Thuban, okay? Thuban. There you go.
So even
In
the North
stone,
Star's changed for the Egyptians.
Okay.
I actually didn't
Now,
know that, team.
I'd like to
Thank
ask
you.
a question.
About that. Well, they've changed the name. I don't know about that.
No, Thuban is still a star today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, go on, team, your question.
Okay. So
It's just not our North Star
now
anymore.
I do have a question for you. Something that you said and you brought up as well. You were talking about, you said, people try to explain this observation and they use refraction, blah, 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 blah. You just wrote it off like, I can't believe people would actually use refraction to explain stupid shit like this, right? I can understand that coming from a flat earther, but then you turned
No, I'm not a
around
flat earther. You
and
didn't say
said that it was, hold on. Then you turned around and said that what we were looking at was Fata Morgana. Do you see the contradiction in what you say that you
I think you're
dismiss and then you
misquoting me.
use for explanation? No, I'm not.
I believe if you
No,
were
I
on
wrote it
this
down as
video,
soon as you said it.
I believe
When you said that globe earthers can hold on. When you can I ask you a question? When you said that many people have come forward and tried to explain this observation, all right? Did you not say they've tried to use everything, something, and refraction and all kinds of stuff, or blah blah blah, or something along those lines? You said refraction and something else, as Glober's trying to explain that observation. And then you turned around and then said, oh, but yeah, Fata Morgana is a thing. When Craig asked something, why do we see this up above. Oh, well, Fata Morgana. That's refraction.
Sorry, you're misquoting me. I actually said it works both ways.
I don't believe I am.
We know that light refraction
That's what you said later. That's what you said later. I'm talking about when they first brought that point up. When they first brought the point up, you said that Globers come forward and try to explain these things to you, and you wrote off as their explanation of refraction, which is the correct explanation, by the way. When you said that they give you explanations of refraction, you just said all this other stuff, like, oh, that no big deal. Refraction's not an explanation. Fata Morgana is for what Craig showed you, but refraction's not an explanation for your observation.
May I?
Yeah.
You
sure.
finished? Good. You're misquoting me. I said that light refraction wouldn't account for seeing all of the buildings from top to bottom. Buildings that are only 30 and 40 meters tall shouldn't be visible if there's 80 meters drop. Street lights along the beachfront 20 miles away shouldn't be visible because they're only 12 meters off the seabed, but they are. Come to Benidorm and check for yourself. They're there every night and they can see us and we can see them. Sorry guys, you need to make your own observations and stop believing the secondary information. And that's no offense. You need to check for yourselves.
No, you just repeated what I said. You just repeated what I said. If I looked at this, just firsthand experience looking at this, I would say, okay, is this even possible? Yeah, it's possible because we're looking over water where refraction is high. Okay, so that'd be my first thing to look at. Would say, what's the refractive index? You say you took these yourself, yeah? Did you? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Did you take any refractive indexes whatsoever? Did you build a refractive index? Did you use any control points around you to see whether this is an observation that should be seen or not be seen? Did you bother to do that?
Yes, I did, because I've been at this for 2 years. One, I did an observation in the morning when the sun was behind me looking at the buildings. Another time I've done the observation in the afternoon when the sun is behind the buildings. I've also done observations on different distances. So if light refraction was always going to give this perfect mirage, well then it would alter with distance. It would alter with where light source is varying. So if the light source doesn't affect the hologram and the distance doesn't affect the hologram, maybe it's not a hologram. Okay, maybe the only little hologram is that little bit at the bottom where there's too much light refraction in the vanishing point, because we shouldn't see the buildings at all. And we shouldn't see the street lights. We should have to ascend 25 meters high, those street lights, but we can see them from the beach. So like I say, we can explain everything, but that doesn't make it true. It just means that we might be giving it data overload. So we've got to keep making observations and compare the results. I don't see what's unscientific about that. It sounds a bit fanatical to just say, oh, I've debunked it.
Because you have no idea. You have no idea. Hold on. Let me tell you why it's not scientific, okay? Let me give you the reason why it's not scientific. Because you have no idea what the refractive index is. Hold on. You have no idea what the refractive index is between you as the observer and the object you're looking at, do you?
Out here. So let's zoom in.
What was the refractive index the day you took this picture?
As you can see, I'm well above the sea level. The
refractive index?
It's the amount of bending that the light is going to experience. The amount of bending that the light is going to experience due to refraction.
You can look on, is it that Metabunk curve calculator, for example? Does that work it out?
That'll give you the average fraction based on, average weather conditions. But did you get any kind of refractive index on what your observation date was at?
Sorry, I missed the last bit.
Did you take any measurements of temperature, humidity to find out what your actual refractive index for the day of your observation was?
No, but I'd love you guys to. I'd love you to repeat the experiment and
you didn't do the experiment yourself because you didn't take the refractive index.
And I'll make the experiment better if you want me to take the temperature and stuff. No problem. I'll do it 10 times for you guys.
Right. Now, there was one thing that I really wanted to address, and one thing that you brought up. You've agreed that you need to do the better experiment and take the refractive index, so I think we can move on from that. Generally, I don't put much weight behind things like looking at things in a distance in laser experiments and stuff, because light can be refracted, and it's a point of contention. But you were saying about chemtrails, right?
Yes.
And you showed me this. Can you tell me what you're looking at in these pictures?
Thank you, because that was the point that I had to stop on. We're told that chemtrails is a conspiracy, and we're laughed at, and it's a trigger. It gets people to argue with each other, when really they are calling it now geoengineering. It's on the Harvard website, it's on the Spanish government website. They're saying, yeah, it's to combat climate change. Well, doesn't your common sense tell you, before you spray chemicals in the sky, we should have independent investigation to see if there's any side effects on human life?
Okay,
and second, doesn't your I'm nearly finished. Doesn't your common sense tell you that before we add more chemicals to the atmosphere, we should maybe abolish all the patents of renewable energy technologies and lower the emissions? Because they're making us feel guilty for their bloody for their sins. They're keeping all the energy back, and they're putting shit in the sky that could be hurting us.
Okay,
What's
so
unsensible?
right, so you're just plainly wrong. They haven't done geoengineering. They have done papers and stuff suggesting on what would happen if they did geoengineering. In these pictures that you've shown me, all right, what is it? Can you tell me those bottom two aircraft designed to carry chemicals? What are those images? Can you tell me?
The aircrafts carrying chemicals to spray into the sky.
Wrong.
Which Harvard
Wrong.
University
Wrong.
and the
Wrong.
Spanish government.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Okay? What that is, it's simple. This is the same aircraft, top and bottom, right? When they are testing aircraft, what they do is they fit them with ballast tanks full of water, and they can pump the water back and forward to simulate the center of gravity shifting. And this is done to test that the aircraft works. This is the same aircraft in the top and bottom picture before and after production. So no, what you showed in that image is not chemicals. It is ballast tanks that are put in there to test the ability of the aircrafts. It's nothing to do with chemicals. Nothing at all.
Read the top of the screen. Go to the Spanish government website. If you don't believe the images I'm showing you,
I've been there.
The Spanish government admit they're doing it, mate. They've got it on their website, and we see the airplanes doing it. We see it lasting for hours. It is
that's called contrails. No,
they tell us not to worry about it, but how do we know not to worry if there's no independent investigation?
But they don't actually do it, right? I'm just going to go to that website so I can show you how wrong you are.
Go to the Spanish website and
I'm going there right now. Bear with me.
Thank you. I'm not angry.
Okay. While he does that, can I ask you a question about your knowledge on the scientific method?
If you want it in English.
Okay, while he looks that up, can I ask you a question about your scientific method knowledge, dependent and independent variables? I just have one question. You can answer it.
I'll try my best. I've had a lot of revising today, so...
No, that's fine. That's fine. Is time an independent or dependent variable?
It's time.
This is a good one. Well done, team.
An independent or a dependent variable.
Because you said gravity is never manipulated. It can't be.
Please show the camera so he can see my reaction to his answer.
2 secs, putting it on.
Pretty simple question if you are well versed in the scientific method, like you appear to be.
It's something I've never really thought. It's more for philosophy, isn't it? Time.
No.
I mean, you can't manipulate time.
Wrong.
So I would say that.
Right, let me explain why you're wrong there, Howard. Howard, right, listen, okay? So I have got 5 cups of tea, right? And I want to do an experiment to find out what the perfect amount of brewing is for me. The only thing that I do different is I leave tea bags in each cup for a different amount of time. What have I done? I've manipulated the time in the experiment.
Just wanted to know.
Boom!
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the definition of an
What-
independent variable is
on
something
your
that
end?
changes throughout the experiment.
What does that
Whether it,
prove? What does that debunk on me, though? I don't get it.
well, there was actually a
Know what
baseline to
time-
find out how much you actually know about science, because there's a few people in the flat Earth community who think that time is not an independent variable because you can't directly modify it. Here's the thing about independent variables.
Which is
It's
what you
something
just
that
said.
changes throughout the experiment, whether it's by your hand or not. As long as it's something that changes, it's an independent variable. In fact, time is always an independent variable because we cannot stop it.
Yeah. Great.
But you're the first flat earther that, well, I'm sorry, you're the first globe denier. I'll use that word. You're the first globe denier that has actually acknowledged that. So kudos to you on that point.
Hey guys, we're all learning what we should be, and that's why I say that the whole idea of science is to just keep testing things and keep into other people's ideas, because you know we
Right, but
might
while we
hear
got- while we got a break-
99% it might be shit, but that 1% could make everything make sense. So we have to keep an open mind of things we can't verify.
Here we go.
Until
But
they're
while we got a
verified.
break and Craig is still looking that up, I do want to address something you said at the very beginning and get some clarification. Your whole Facebook thing, were you banned from Facebook entirely or just from specific groups?
My posts were not allowed to be published.
Okay, that has
Maybe
nothing to do with
post in math
Facebook.
groups.
That has nothing to do with Facebook as the company. That has to do with the group owners just getting rid of you.
No. I made 3 posts into maths groups, and they all instantly came at the same time, about a few minutes after I'd done it, and it says, we have stopped this because of the website link. It's the algorithms. It tells you in it that the website's not allowed. I've then
Well, if you're adding external
I've
links,
then applied
that's
for a manual review, and a lot of my posts that have been reviewed have then been allowed, but they're late. They've lost the buzz. And a lot of them haven't been reviewed, but any that have been reviewed get manually approved because there's nothing offensive about them. It's the algorithms.
Yeah, Howard, can I ask you a question to clarify something you said? You said tools use our senses. Can you clarify what you meant by that?
Sorry, we can't use tools without using our senses, can we? So you got to value your senses, guys.
Well, I don't understand what you mean. Yeah, I don't understand what you mean by that. Are you saying that tools cannot do experiments if we don't use our senses to evaluate them?
We have to use our common senses to verify what the tools are recording. Yeah. The tool's
on that
useless
topic,
without our senses to guide it and to tell it what to do.
I actually took notes while you were talking because I actually wanted to address a couple of things. You talked about the Red Bull jump and how the horizon was at Felix's eye level. Well, do me a favor. Do me a favor. When you look at that video again, don't just look for pictures. Look for the videos. From the time that you're actually pointing out where the horizon, hold on, while you're actually looking at the horizon at eye level out the main window, or the door, I should say, go back a few frames when the door is actually closed. There's a window on the right side of the screen. Draw a line from that horizon and overlay it on that window. Your claim doesn't hold up. It's actually below. It's actually showing a curve. It's just because of the door, you're only seeing a very small amount of it.
So you're saying that the window is eye level and that the horizon is lower because it
the
isn't
horizon,
along with the window.
People say that the horizon out the door is flat. Hold on, Craig. People say the horizon outside of the door is flat and level. But if you go back a few frames when the door is still closed, there's a window on the right side of the screen. The horizon is below where that door is opened at, which shows a curve. Because it's not, when the door is open, the horizon's here, but when you have that door closed, the horizon's over here out the window. Not that picture, Craig.
Have you got the picture you mean?
Yeah, it's from the inside.
Yeah, they're talking about the picture when he's getting ready to stand up to the outside.
Okay. So I had to.
I'm going to try to grab it real quick.
I had to run the page through Google Translate, but they're literally talking. They're not talking about it being done. I've read through it. The base of it is that they're talking about the possibility of using different methods to manipulate the air. They're talking about what happens, what contrails are, and the aircraft engines emit water vapor, carbon dioxide, and small amount of nitrogen, hydrocarbons, monoxide, carbon, sulfur gases, and certain metal particles. All of these gases and particles, water vapor is only relevant for the formation of steels. For the great trails to form behind the en route airplanes, some certain temperature and humidity conditions that allow it to produce condensation of water vapor emitted by the engines. The gases of sulfur can help because they facilitate the formation of small particles. So they're literally just talking about what contrails are in the article that you've given me from that webpage. There's nothing there.
They're claiming that it's just condensation trails that they are using for geoengineering.
No, they're talking about the possibility of how it would work. They're not saying they are doing this. The entire, I've literally just read through the entire thing, and it's literally talking about what contrails are and the possible effectiveness of using it to reflect light back into space. They're not saying that they're doing it. It's things that they are studying and things that they could do. There has been There has been isolated incidents where they have tested on certain areas, certain small local things, but there is no massive program of geoengineering. There is lots and lots of research into what they could do, but the website that you link in that thing literally just talks about what contrails are and how they could possibly be used to help reflect light back into space.
Show me where it says possible. Show me where it says possible, because I read Spanish.
Well,
go on.
I've literally read the entire thing, and it doesn't say that they are doing it.
Show me where it says they're not. It says.
Show me where it says they are. Show me where it says that they are using it. It just tells you what they are.
They're doing geoengineering, but they claim that it's just condensation.
Right. So in that website that you sent me, they claim it's just condensation. They're not saying they're doing geoengineering. How can you read something directly and get it so wrong?
Excuse me, Craig. Craig, in Spanish, it's called modificación artificial del clima, o del tiempo. That means artificial weather modification.
And they're not talking about doing it, they're talking about the possibility of it being done. Nowhere in that website does it say that that is what they are doing. They are talking about the studies being done on how it could possibly be used. But nowhere on that website does it say they are doing it. The trails of condensation are clouds of ice that form long lines. That's the first sentence.
It says they are.
No, it doesn't. I just read it.
It says they are.
I literally just read it.
It says they are, doesn't it, Craig? They are.
I literally just showed the screen. I literally just showed everybody the screen.
I know. And I'm just saying it says they are.
No, where does it say that?
At the top.
The trails of condensation are clouds of ice. It doesn't say.
Doesn't say they will be. Doesn't say they were. It says they are. But like I say, look.
It doesn't say they are. Oh my goodness me! They're literally just telling you about what contrails are. That's what they're doing. Goodness me.
The second point, Craig. You're not going to look into all the websites that say that it is happening in English. Judge the Spanish one, which says that they are. But
I went to the source that you gave me, and it doesn't say that they are.
The trails of condensation are now, not were, not will be.
Yes, because there are trails of condensation. They are a thing. Goodness me. It doesn't mean that they're using them to geoengineer. It just means that they are a thing, because contrails are a thing.
Go back onto the website, or the image that I sent you of the website, and it says artificial weather modification. In fact,
oh my God! Just because the words are, but you're just saying that the words are on the website. Yes, okay, we agree. The words are on the website. What the fuck does that mean? Okay, like really?
Spanish.
No. Hold on. You're not catching the context of what I'm saying. The words are on the website. What does that mean? Exactly. What does it mean? Are you just saying because the words are on the website, they're saying that geoengineering, artificial modification of the weather is been going on, is secret, and all this just because the words are on that website? Is that what you're getting? Or have you actually read the website and it says on there that they have been doing geoengineering, modification, whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Check it out, buddy. It says they're doing it in 50 countries around the world. That's the Spanish government saying that they're doing it in 50 countries around the world. So maybe if Craig
just
send me the
website,
article, Craig. I'll look into it myself.
Okay.
Do look into it. Don't take my word for it. Look into it. I've left you the links.
No, it's fine. That's fine.
Anyway,
That's fine.
I'm not angry.
Okay, we got something for
say
you to
this
look
is-
into.
Okay,
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Calm
It's
down.
fine.
Please, can I
It's
just
fine,
finish
it's
my
fine.
part?
Yeah.
Please, can I just finish this? Right. Apart from the geoengineering that is spoken about on the Spanish government website being active in 50 countries, also, I'm questioning people, why is it, apart from not taking away the patents of renewable energy technology, why is it that in 1992, Severin Cullis, a young girl, was used to inflict fear and guilt into everyone at the United Nations meeting, yeah, and they called it, she was worried about the ozone layer, yeah? Now, how come in 1992 they used the same technique as they've just used with this Greta Thunberg? It's fear-mongering, it's order out of chaos. And it's like I say, look at the pattern, join the dots. It's a scam. We're being blamed for global warming when it's their bloody fault. If there is global warming.
You had your diet. We gave you your diatribe. We gave you your moment for diatribe. Now
Wait,
answer
one sec.
this.
I wanna,
this is something for you to look into.
Just quickly, I want to read a bit more of that article that he's linked me to. Is there a scientific consensus on the possible existence of a secret atmospheric program of large scale? A study from the University of California quantifying expert consensus against the existence of a secret large-scale atmospheric spraying program. Against the existence. That is from the source that you gave me, saying that there is more data against it. You know, this is literally from what you gave me. Accessible here, presenting the opinion of 77 tied experts in atmospheric chemistry against geochemistry. 76 of the 77 found no evidence of a secret large-scale atmospheric program or secret large-scale atmospheric program, and the number 77 he referred as the only evidence he could not explain high levels of barium in the atmosphere on a remote area of land with low barium levels. So that article that you gave me literally says that they concluded that they weren't doing it. Boom.
Check on the website, everybody.
That's from the website you gave me in... fuck's sake.
Right there.
That is from the website you gave me. That is your source, dude.
That's your source.
I'm showing you the source right there. It says artificial weather modification in 50 countries. I don't know what you're putting on the screen.
That is from the source that you gave me.
I'm showing you the source, lads.
It's being translated. It's being translated.
Yeah, well,
it's being translated by Google.
I recommend everyone go to the website and check for yourself.
Okay.
Because it says
Sean has a good point for you.
Moving on.
Sean has a good point for you to look into. So please share my screen. Okay.
Okay. We're back on the Felix Baumgartner drum, where you asserted that the horizon was eye level with Felix. Do you see that window to the right?
Yeah.
Do you see where the horizon's at?
No, I just see a bit of light. I can't really tell what I'm looking at, and I'm looking on the big screen.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, jump forward to where you're at, where he has the door open, because the door actually blocks the window. And now the horizon's kind of straight across, but when the door is closed, the horizon's going up at an angle from bottom right towards top left.
How can you
and it's lower.
You're looking at the horizon? You're just looking at a window that's illuminated.
Hey, hold on.
Because we're going by your claim.
Quick. Let me show you something real quick. You see where this light is? Okay? It's about midway height in his patch. Okay? That's directly across. The light is patch. Now, it's definitely not up here, right? You will agree with me that the line is not up here by this little gray area, correct? I mean, this line over here, that's the horizon, is not up here where this gray thing is, right? Will you agree with that? Basic observation. You say use your senses. You should be using your senses right now and just saying, oh, yeah, absolutely.
What gray thing are you referring to? Sorry, my television's a few seconds slower.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Up here above the yellow patch, there's this little gray thing, okay? I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speculate what it is. I'm just using it as a reference point. It's the yellow patch, this little gray thing, okay? This light is somewhere in the middle of this yellow patch. It's definitely not up here by the gray thing. Can you agree with me on that?
The light in the side window might not be the horizon.
Yes, the light
it
in
might
this
just be light. Might just be light. Reflection
Light from
in
where?
the window.
Oh, God.
There's
It's
light
a window
outside,
looking out.
yeah?
So it's a window looking outside. So if the horizon is eye level, it should be eye level all the way across the door and the window.
I can't see anything through that window. I just see a window illuminated. It's very
That's the fucking point. No, that's the point. You're nailing the point. You're proving us right now. You can't see anything in that window, right? Well, you should be seeing the horizon, because look, let me bump it up a couple frames. Boom, you see that? See that light is right there? You see how it's cross-sectioning above this yellow patch into this little gray thing right here? Well, let's step back just a few frames again. That's where it's at, right there, okay? Now, if you draw this straight across, keep going, straight across, that's where you should be seeing, roughly, right there, you should be seeing the horizon, but you don't. It's down here. Why is that? Here, I'll go back. I'll step forward and step back.
You can go back as many as you want, but can you see what is through that window, or is it just an illuminated window that you're making?
Nope, you can see it. You can see through it. I can see the white light at the bottom right corner. Let me go back to it. There it is, right there. I can see the white light coming through this little.
If you can back up farther, I do believe they show the whole capsule in motion while from this view, and actually see the horizon bobbing up and down in that window. Oh look! Look, now you can see it even better.
Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. It has pressure and everything right there. All right.
Yeah, but look out the window now. Are you still saying that's not the horizon?
So we all agree the horizon is at eye level when he opens the door. I'm glad we got that. So
well, actually, no, it's not, because it's not at eye level from the second window.
I don't know what that second window is. It could be a
second window.
That means he's looking. That means he's looking at a curved surface from left to right.
In my car, I can have blacked out windows or mirrored windows that you might not see through. I don't know what the heck I'm looking at through that little window. All I can tell you, it looks pretty level there, lads, doesn't it? If you want to pick straws, look how high it is now in that window. Come on. The point is,
you might not be and I'm using air quotes right now. You might not be a flat earther, but you sound like one.
I can't believe you're judging a side window instead of the big open door, and you can't even see through that side window.
Oh my God! Do you even understand what Sean is saying? Do you even understand what Sean is saying? That needs to be quickly
do you understand what I'm saying? If the glass is misty,
then how? Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Hey, it makes no sense.
He just
what
made
you're
the claim.
saying makes no sense.
Skeptic, stop. He just made the claim that the window's blacked out and you can't see anything. Please go back to that video and show us where it's blacked out.
I'm saying
it's a video. It's up right now.
You can't see what you're looking at through that window. It's not a very clear image through that window, is it? Yeah.
You're looking outside. It's a window. You're looking outside.
Look, guys, you want to look through the little window? I'm looking through the big door. Okay.
So you're just ignoring that there's another.
We're looking. Okay, but we're looking through both. We're looking through both. Hold on, Howard. No, hold on. We're looking through both. You're looking through one. We're looking through both. Who's ignoring evidence again?
And just to point out that there's quite a few members in the chat that are Spanish, and they've read that website and they agree with me and not you.
Oh, well, get them online. Ask them why it says here, modificación artificial del tiempo.
Yeah, because they're talking about what could be done.
Because that translates to artificial weather modification. That's it. That's why they said that.
And 50 countries are doing activities to study the possibility of weather modification. Nowhere does it say they are actively modifying the weather. This comes from the Spanish speaking people in my chat.
They
You're wrong.
Claiming you've just read it, Craig. You said that they're doing it with condensation trails. So make your
No, I
mind up,
didn't.
bro.
I didn't say that at all.
Put it back on the screen. I heard you read it. I saw it on the screen. Put it on the screen if you want. But what we're arguing about?
Just for clarification purposes, are you fluent in Spanish? Are you fluent in Spanish? Just wondering. It's not. Oh, just wondering if you're fluent in Spanish. Okay.
Oh, I am.
So you're disagreeing with the people in the chat? You disagree with the people in the chat?
Yeah. Everyone can go.
I wonder
there.
if we could get one
Everyone
of them in
can
here.
Read it themselves.
I would love to get one of them in here and have them have a conversation about the grammar in that article.
Yeah, and this is a translation from the Spanish person in the chat, Gabriela. 76 of 77 experts found no evidence of large-scale weather modifying program. One guy found barrio in a place that usually has low barrio, but that doesn't prove anything. That's what it says. I mean, you're literally misreading it. There's nowhere that it says they are actively modifying the weather.
It says it's at the top in bloody red. I've done it in red, Craig. What are you talking about, mate? I'm sorry. Now I don't agree with this.
Can you just read the one sentence that says where they're doing it? Just read it one time. I won't interrupt. No one will interrupt you. Just read the one sentence in that article, word for word, that says that there's weather modification going on actively.
The very first thing it says in black text is "en la actualidad," which means in this moment, at this actual time, yeah, there are 50 countries around the world that
read
are
it in Spanish. Read it in Spanish.
Right, let me get the website.
You're fluent in Spanish. This shouldn't be a problem. Just read it naturally.
The direct translation is currently more than 50 countries carry out activities on modification. But what they're saying is that they are studying the possibilities of it happening. In the same page, in the same article, in the same website, it says that there is no large-scale thing. All right, so yes, there is 50 countries around the world that are carrying out activities on modification, but that doesn't mean that they are actively modifying the weather.
Look at the word activity. Activity.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, so they're active, aren't they? Actively.
Yeah, they're actively carrying out things to study what they're doing. So why on the same website, Howard, answer me this very simple question. Why on the same website does it directly say that there is no large-scale weather modification program?
Because it's a clickbait title, and that's what he's going by.
Exactly.
You have to mix lies with truth for the lies to be believable. So they're telling you that they're doing it, then they tell you that they're not using chemicals. They're just saying it's condensation, but they tell you they're doing it.
Sorry.
Wait, did you just say, hold on. Did you say on that website they're mixing lies with the truth so the lies will become more believable?
So we can't trust that website anyway,
I'm saying that when people lie, for a lie to be believable, it has to hold some weight, doesn't it? It has to hold some water. So they have to have good
in the context of the question, in the context of Craig's question, he asked you, he was bringing up the fact that, yes, it says 50 countries are actively studying weather modification. Okay, but then it also said in the exact same article, hold on, okay, whatever. In the exact same article, though, it says 76 out of 77 scientists that were asked said that there is no large-scale weather modification going on. No secret organization that's actively modifying world weather for population control or any of that nonsense. Okay? Why does it have both of those in there? Why does it say that there's 50 countries actively participating in weather modification, but there is no worldwide weather modification program to control the government or control the world population or anything like that? Why?
Now I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. They're admitting to modifying the weather, and at the end they're saying, but don't worry, it's not large scale and it doesn't affect the population. It's none of that conspiracy stuff. So they're saying...
No, at the end they say there's no evidence for it.
Right.
There's a difference there.
He just said it himself. It's not about population control.
I said it. No, hold on. I said that they were studying weather control, and what did you say? Oh, that's not what they said. No. And then so the second time around, to avoid all of that nastiness that you're going to just throw in to just keep the conversation going forward, I used your term.
Can I point out a more base issue? can I just point out a more base issue with this? You said that they're giving us, part truths with, going through part lies to get it to the public. Which part are they telling the truth about, and which part are they telling a lie about, and how do you know?
That was my question.
Okay.
That was my original question.
I don't know.
Now you can answer.
But my common sense, I would love to, if I may.
Right.
Common sense.
Hold on,
tells
Craig.
you
Let him
that they
answer.
wouldn't deny it first. Why would they deny it for years if there was nothing to worry about?
Right.
That didn't answer my question. My question was, you made the claim that they're telling a partial truth with a partial lie. How do you know which side of that argument is true and which side is a lie? And how do you determine which one it is?
Right. We can see aeroplanes leaving long trails that last hours and that they spread out in
As
comparison
contrails
to the short condensation trails which dissipate and disappear very quickly. So we can verify with the observation that they're truth, that
Right.
they are doing weather modification in 50 countries.
Okay.
And then we can ask ourselves, why did they deny it for 2 or 3 years? Now, Bill Nye's and people ridiculing it, again, deflection with humour,
Right.
sarcasm. Why
Stop.
did they go to the
Stop.
trouble of denying it at first, and now they admit it?
Right. Stop.
Maybe
So,
because they needed time to normalise it.
So if there's a difference in humidity and temperature, there will be a difference in how contrails dissipate. Now, I am not denying that there is things such as cloud seeding to help increase participation in deserts and stuff, because, why wouldn't they want extra rain in deserts? Yes, cloud seeding is absolutely 100% a thing, but that is not evidence of a global conspiracy to cover the world in chemicals. And this cloud seeding is not the same thing as contrails.
Is precipitation, not participation.
Sorry,
Why
precipitation.
didn't they do it over the Amazon?
Because it's not a desert.
Sorry, the Amazon was on fire, no? It's the lungs of the earth. They needed 20 million to sort it out, where the agencies get over 100 million a day.
Yeah,
Like
do
I
you,
said,
do you know how
poverty,
many
volunteers,
airplanes were
and
actually
access
diverted
access.
to use to dump water and stuff on it? The idea,
I know, Vito's.
Can I ask a question? The people that are responsible for these chemtrails, so as you call it, so we don't get any confusion.
I never called it chemtrails, mate. You're calling
the
it
people.
chemtrails.
Okay, hold on.
chemicals.
The chemicals they're planning on the chemicals they plan on spraying across the world that you're saying that they're doing. Okay, so I want to ask you, the people that are responsible for this, do they have a special breathing apparatus that keeps them from breathing these same chemicals, or are they just accepting their fate to better the cause, for the cause? Is that what they're doing? Or do they all walk around with breathers on so they're not breathing these chemicals that are so harmful?
Look, man, now we're theorizing. All I know is that the Spanish government tell you they're
That's
doing
all
weather
you've done.
modification.
That's all you've done
And
since
my
the
common
beginning.
sense-
So we're theorizing
My
now,
common
yeah.
sense tells me
But-
that you should take away emissions
But-
before you add more.
Right.
That's all
But
I've ever
so
said.
what does your common sense tell you?
Yeah.
What
Cloud
does your common
seeding
sense
and,
tell you about the
cloud
What does your
seeding.
common sense tell you about the people who are responsible for the chemtrails? Would they be affected by the chemtrails as well, or are they selectively not selected for whatever reason? Or do they all walk around with breathers so they don't breathe in the
Yeah,
same
I
air
heard
that we
it,
do?
bro. I heard it before. Yeah, I heard it. But what do you want me to
Answer it.
theorize?
Cloud
Use common
seeding.
sense,
Yeah,
answer
but
it.
here's the thing, Howard.
Because
Cloud.
obviously I don't know
Howard,
because
Howard.
I'm not doing it, am I? I'm not the one doing it, so I
Howard,
don't know. But
Howard,
I'll
there-
happily give you a theory.
There is no correlation between cloud seeding and contrails. They're not the same thing. The picture that you've
know.
given me, right, that you showed with the contrails in the air like this, linked to that article where they're talking about 50 countries actively participating in weather modification, i.e. cloud seeding, and studying the possibility of putting chemicals into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight, does not have a correlation as to contrails are chemicals in the air, because it's not the same thing. Cloud seeding is
I know.
something that's been done. And so
I
this
know.
image that you've shown is very dishonest because it's not the same thing in the slightest. And the image that you've shown with the tanks in the plane is literally when they are testing the planes. So the images that you've put here do not correlate in the slightest to that article.
In your opinion,
No, in fact.
but there's factual evidence everywhere showing people that there's aeroplanes kitted out to do what they're admitting they're doing. What?
Where?
Motive?
Not in this picture, though. This picture is just a picture of ballast tanks that are put in there to test the actual like the gravitational center of the plane and stuff. And if you look at on the picture on the bottom left, there's like wires and stuff going out of a window. And where did that image go that I had? Well, I found an image that shows that on the outside of that plane, they've got like data sensors and stuff so that they can sense what is going on. You know, the images that you've put on this are not correlating to the article that you've said. So, you know, it's a very dishonest thing to do.
Well, do you think that the two top images, do you think you can leave condensation trails?
Yes.
That would last that long? No, let me just finish. If condensation disappears, yeah, then the planes would have all flown at the same time and crashed into each other. I can see a gridlock of trails that are lasting for hours on that picture, which I see day to day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I see an aeroplane next to it full of barrels of different chemicals at the top, yeah? And the question is, where would those trails come from if they didn't have barrels? They need barrels to...
All those trails are just contrails. And when you have different levels of humidity at different altitudes, you have contrails that will dissipate at different lengths. However, if you get a bottle of vinegar and spray it in the air, you're good.
Well, like I say, it's all documented. There's patents for it. It's on the Harvard University and the Spanish government. Everyone just check it out and look up every now and then and look at the ones that disappear and look at the ones that don't. And you'll notice that there's a pattern going on. And it's not denied, even though you guys are denying it. But that's okay. It's okay, guys. It's okay. Harold, I read Spanish.
Howard, listen, Spanish. I know what it says but I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you again, and I'm going to rephrase this. I'm going to ask a preliminary question first. Do you understand? Wait, what common sense means? Listen, do you understand what common sense means?
Yeah. Please don't patronize me, mate.
You can use your common sense. Okay, so using your back to my question that you so casually avoided. Okay.
No, I didn't. I got interrupted.
Use your common sense here.
Hold on.
That's fine. Okay. Yeah. That's fine. Use your common sense. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Use your common sense and tell me. Do you think the pilots that are flying those tanks of chemicals around, dumping chemicals everywhere, do you think they aren't affected by the chemicals? Do you think they voluntarily subject themselves to the chemicals for the greater good? Do you think they walk around their homes with a gas mask on because they know the chemicals are everywhere because they just sprayed all this shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, use your common sense and tell me what you think it goes through the mind of these pilots. Or the people constructing the whole program. No, use your common sense. Please, go.
You sure? Right. So, just like in NASA, everything, and you're a friend that works in a satellite company or whatever, Craig, everything's compartmentalized, isn't it? So you only know what data you receive. So if those pilots think that they're doing something to combat climate change, which is what it's promoting, this is great technology, it'll stop the global warming. Those pilots are probably fucking spraying everywhere thinking, yeah, I'm doing something to save the world. Aren't I a great person? And the people that might know that there's secondary effects to this modification of the weather, I'm not calling it chemtrails, I don't know what they are. I'm just saying, if there is side effects, and these people that do know about them aren't bothered, it might be because they've got an antidote, or it might be because they know a way to rid themselves of certain metals and stuff. I'm theorizing, but that's...
No, you're hypothesizing. There's a difference.
Sorry, I'm hypothesizing. But I still made a good one, didn't I? And we could argue about it till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, just make the observations when you see airplanes nowadays. Just look a little bit more often and you'll notice there's a pattern. They make patterns. There's no airports round where I live. Yet you get there, there's lines everywhere and then it's a bloody cloudy day. There's no airports here. So the airport's bloody over an hour drive.
Howard,
I can understand it near an airport, but not here.
Howard, so if you... are pilot, you need to know things like how much everything weighs, and they have, they need to be able to calculate how much the fuel and everything weighs. They don't have space in these planes for massive tanks of chemicals to spray everywhere. It's and I know I've been speaking to Wolfie 6020 and Bob the Science Guy, who are both qualified pilots, commercial qualified pilots, and they have both said that no, we don't spray stuff into the air. And they're actual pilots.
Yeah, but they're commercial airline pilots. These are obviously not commercial aircraft.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. No, I showed you. They were. No. What you're seeing is the pictures before and after production. During test flights in 1994, the cabin interior of the prototype 777 was filled with what at first glance looks like aluminium beer kegs. In fact, these 55-gallon barrels contained water. The contents of 24 barrels in the forward cabin and a like number of barrels in the aft section were pumped back and forth to simulate shifts in the center of gravity that would result from passengers moving about. The top shows the cabin as it was when the 777 was delivered. So it's not they've been converted to have that. They've been converted to have planes in afterwards. To people in afterwards. Yeah, you keep showing the same picture that I've just debunked.
Maybe they were, but the airplanes used for the program that's in 50 countries actually, as it says.
Do you have any evidence of that?
Then why did you show that picture? In that picture from his. Hold on, Craig. Craig, is your.
No. That's
Craig, is that.
No, that's
okay. So those aren't the. I thought you pulled that from his. Okay, I thought you pulled that from his thing. All right, I can't see what he's
however, I
out
did
there.
reverse image search that one that he said, and it brought me to the Metabunk page that showed me all of this.
Great. They've debunked it with a website. But my point is, your friends are pilots, yeah?
Yeah.
Your friends are pilots. Have they confirmed that they keep the plane inclined 3 degrees to maintain the same altitude because the thrust has to thrust a bit down?
Yeah, Bob the Science Guy actually explained very clearly how they actually keep the nose slightly up, yeah.
Brilliant. So if they maintain the nose slightly up throughout a 12-hour flight and they don't dip the nose at any point...
They wouldn't need to.
You can turn around and say that gravity pulls things down, but it doesn't steer things, okay? If you aren't putting the nose
gravity
down,
pulls towards the center. Gravity pulls towards the center. Right. Now let me explain to you how airplanes fly. Stop. Howard, stop. Howard, stop. Right. Planes fly in bands of pressure, okay? So a plane will rise in altitude until it reaches a band of pressure, and then it will maintain a certain thrust that will keep it in that band of pressure. You don't need to tilt it down because the thrust will keep it in that band as it goes, and the forces will equal out with the thrust from the plane and the air resistance on the wings, and then when they want to come down, they will reduce the thrust, reducing the amount of force that the plane is going, and it will go down. The pilots do not need to compensate for curve because that is not how planes fly. They use the pressure bands of the atmosphere.
If you're up and you're going around a curve, you're going to land upside down, aren't you?
No, absolutely not. You've just reverted to basic Flerf, and I think we should end it there.
No, it's okay. It's just
no, Craig. I actually got something else to bring up here because he's been loving to say he's been loving about the whole thing about Horizon going to eye level. Before tonight, have you ever heard of me before, Howard?
I saw you on that 33 video.
Oh, what a knob he was!
Oh, the after show. So you have no idea of what I've done on YouTube, correct? What I have personally done on YouTube. Sorry, it sucks to be you at this point. Because I love the Horizon rises to eye level claim as you gain altitude. Because I have drones. I've tested this by taking the drone from ground level and going up to 1,639 feet without touching the gimbal on the camera. And I've demonstrated the Horizon does drop 0.7 degrees. This has been repeated by 2 other people over water. The Horizon does drop as you gain altitude.
Or could it be that the vanishing point disguises what you think you're seeing, and what you can see is a little bit below the vanishing point.
That's the nice thing about my observations, because that's the nice thing about my observations, if you let me finish, because it was at sunset. The whole purpose of the video was to catch multiple sunsets. So the sun was going below eye level as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's your answer is mm-hmm. Okay, we can move on then.
Well, no, I'm listening to you, but I haven't made the decision and I haven't seen your evidence either. So I'll have to look into your channel. I'll be happy to come back on chat with you guys another time.
That's the nice thing about the sunset is, the sun is about 0.5 degrees wide. And since I was watching it set multiple times by going higher, we know it was going further and further below eye level, other than the fact that I actually used the cameras not being moved as a measurement. But the sun did eventually set completely where I couldn't go any higher and see it, because the Mavic Pro has a hard limit of 1639 for altitude. But the sun was definitely at least half a degree below the horizon. And I watched it get there in steps. I would raise the altitude up. I'd wait for the sun to set to where I couldn't see it anymore. I'd raise it up some more. We'd see the sun pop back up. I'd wait for it to set. I'd go up higher. And I repeated this like 7 times in the video. But the whole time, we're watching the horizon get farther and farther down the frame. Yeah, it's just search my channel for Orphan Red.
Yeah, and then I'll go and make my own primary observations with someone that's got a drone just to verify, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, isn't it, guys?
Yeah. Just make sure the gimbal isn't touched.
Just before we close the conversation, you've heard about this mud flood stuff that people are researching. What's your opinion about that? Because there's evidence.
Basements have windows.
Let me just finish this. That's the problem with people nowadays, not just you. People are so quick to debunk things without actually being fully informed. So I'm asking if you've checked out the mud flood evidence in London, which, yes, can be saying that's how they built. There's underground cities in Manchester, in Russia, like Moscow and St. Petersburg. There's loads of evidence, especially the 1973 Paris excavations of Les Halles, where you can clearly see when they excavate the road outside that there's layers of windows and doors that are underground. Evidence all over the world that there's been mud floods that we haven't learnt about, so there's obviously been a big cover-up.
In the recent times, my goodness.
I didn't say when. I'm just saying that there's evidence of mud floods that we've not been taught about. They're hiding. There's a big cover-up, literally. And star forts that we've never learned much about. And temples. And the forgotten Tatarian Empire. There's flags and there's maps and everything. Why is it that history seems to be his story and we're only being taught selective things? Could it be part of the programming?
No,
because
mud floods aren't
being fooled. Nearly done. We're being fooled because it's proud and it makes us dismiss all the evidence of advanced ancient societies, even though there's temples like Phnom Penh in Cambodia that still has antennas that glow with electricity in the atmosphere.
Can I ask you a
question? There's Borobudur in Indonesia that has antennas all over it. They're obviously not to go and pray in. They were obviously some kind of energy stations. The Kalyasa in Alora, India.
I'm going to ask you a question.
I'm going to break form real quick. Deep Skeptic, because every time I hear the word mud flood, the first thing that pops in my brain is that somebody else's brain has been ejected from their body from the closest orifice possible, which happens to be their asshole. Which is why it's called a mud flood.
Well, let me... Harry, let me ask you a question. Harry. Hold on. Let me ask you a question.
I'm listening. Okay? I just want the subscribers
step-by-step
to
question.
see.
Okay.
All of this evidence.
That's fine. But let me ask
wait,
you a question.
Wait. You're literally showing a hoax picture. You're showing a hoax picture. I've seen that one before. It's a hoax. It's been proven to be a hoax.
Proven, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
All of them proven.
So
you can see this all over the world, guys. All over the world, even mud floods. But yeah, it's okay. Debunked.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Why do we not see this in history books?
Because the history books get burnt, man. What did Hitler do? What does North Korea do? What do you think they're doing now?
So humans rewrite history. Or is that your assertion that we rewrite history to base our narrative, right? Yeah. You're saying we just erase the history of Tartaria and the Mud. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what about these Egyptian? I'm sorry, hold on. The point of my question is right now. Why are you so trusting of the stone tablets that come from the ancient times, as if those humans were, for some reason, different than we are today, and they didn't write the history that they wanted to tell? Why do you believe them so devoutly, but you are so quick to write off our history?
I don't see what you're saying, to be honest. You're asking me why I trust carved rock historical evidence.
Why do you think those humans? Why do you think those humans are incapable of lying? Hold on. Why do you think those humans were incapable of lying? There was no possible way that they were not telling us the truth. You said you trust those. You trust the ones that were written in stone from ancient times. They knew. How do you know they weren't lying the same way you proclaim that the humans today lie about our recent history?
Right. Quite simply, they either predicted the future and knew where the stars were going to be now, when we were going to have this conversation, or the stars were in them positions when they carved them in stone. And there is no stories that I believe in from history. I'm just looking at historical evidence that's carved in stone.
But why are you saying that they would not lie, but we will?
Well, I say it again. They're either predicting the future, or they lied and it just happened to be correct. Well, or they're just telling the truth. Which one do you want to do?
Yeah.
Huh?
Chad just reminded me of something that I would love to bring up. You know what crepuscular rays are, right?
Oh, shit. Yeah, is that where the sun comes in and it splits or something? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, that's
well. It looks like beams of light through clouds or shadow. Do you know what anti-crepuscular rays are?
Yeah, I thought the triangulation effect.
All right. Do you know what anti-crepuscular rays are? That's when the sun is behind you and you're looking at the shadows. I'm going to explain it to you. It's when the sun is behind you and you're looking away from the sun, you see the shadows of whatever's blocking the light go across the sky. So let's do a little globe Earth, flat Earth hypothesis here. So if we have a flat Earth and the sun has set, where should those anti-crepuscular rays meet? Because they're going to converge at a point because of perspective. Where would they meet at on a flat Earth?
To be honest, I'd have to see a model to fully comprehend what you're saying, because I'm trying to picture it. I'm not 100% sure what you're saying. If you have me back on the show,
I think I can get that. I think I can get that.
Send a few of the images, and I'll give you my best opinion. But I'm all about verifying things that we can do ourselves instead of just theorizing.
This is the thing. I've actually done this in a video because a flat earther made an assertion of what we should see on a globe. So I actually already have the results. After sunset, I witnessed crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays. On a flat Earth, what should we see with those anti-crepuscular rays after sunset? Where should the anti-crepuscular rays converge at? Because they're going to converge at a point. Will it be below the horizon, away from the sun, at the horizon, or above the horizon?
You're gonna have to say it one more time. What? I'm looking at the picture now, at least.
Okay, he's showing crepuscular rays because he's facing towards the sun. If you were to turn your back to the sun, if you were to turn your back to the sun in this image, you would see those bands of light converging to a point somewhere. Now, I have video of crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays from a drone after sunset. So I'm seeing the crepuscular rays meet below the horizon towards the sun. But on a flat Earth, where would they meet for the anti-crepuscular rays on the other side of the sky? below the horizon, at the horizon,
You can
or above the horizon.
You could share 'em- Oh, here, let me show you something. I got a picture of what he's saying right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
those are anti-corpuscular
With
rays.
showing them crepuscular. In both of them, there's a
Oh, those are
crepuscular
anti.
coming from the east and anti-crepuscular.
Wait, I've put teams. Oh, I've lost teams. Where is it? Right, there he is.
Yeah, because the sun's at the back of the camera right now, so he's actually showing anti-corpuscular rays.
Right. So the thing I've got is, we're talking about light as if we know what it is and
We
as
do.
if we know how it would work.
We do.
But I'll just remind you what I said before. Quantum physics, okay?
Okay, that has
Was
nothing to do with the
actually-
question.
No, but it has.
We're actually talking about direct observation.
Yeah, and I'm just saying we don't necessarily know everything. We think we understand it, but quantum physics was actually predicted by the Kabbalah and all ancient
And has
religious
nothing to do
texts.
with corpuscular or anti-corpuscular rays.
I think it does because Helena Blavatsky did the secret doctrine, and also the Kabbalistic texts. Also
And has
predict
nothing to
general
do with
relativity
corpuscular and
physics.
anti-corpuscular rays.
My point is, we're talking about science and religion being different, and I'm telling you that an ancient religion
And has nothing to do with
believes all these
corpuscular
things.
and
So-
anti-corpuscular
so-
rays.
If I can finish my sentence. So we're basing our understanding on some ancient religious beliefs that people can
But I'm not.
explain.
I'm dealing with my understanding on a basic observation.
Yeah.
And
I'm
you're
saying
deflecting
I
it.
haven't made this basic observation, so you're asking me to theorize, and I'm telling you that I don't really like to theorize about something that we don't even know for sure if the understanding's right. because
I
it's
asked you a
religious.
basic geometrical question, and you had to go the religious route. You, sir, are a Poe.
No, I don't think he is, Sean. I think he just really doesn't understand.
No,
Like,
he knows he can't answer the question, so he has to waffle. He's a
That's-
Poe.
No,
Okay.
I just wanted to get that point in there, and I thought it's
Right.
related. I told
Have a
you
look
I
at this
theorised.
picture.
You don't
Have a look at this picture, Howard. Right. So, at no point should the sun be below the clouds on a flat Earth. So why is there a shadow on the underside of clouds?
Maybe because we don't understand what light is. We
We
don't
do, though.
understand what the sun. You assume we know.
No,
but
we
I'm
really
saying
do.
that
It's
if you
been
look into
experimentally
that
proven.
field,
You assume we don't.
I assume that none of us do. I assume that we're all being a bit big-headed and trying to make out we know what the sun is.
Well,
The
that's
sun
your
might be a
problem, not
reflection.
ours.
The sun
No.
might,
Yeah.
the sun
well,
might
that's
be
your
in a few
problem, not
places
ours.
at once.
No,
It's not a problem.
No,
I'm happy-
that's
I'm
a
happy
pretty.
to-
That's
Sure.
quite obviously not a reflection or anything. That's
Do you
a
have proof
picture
of any of
taken
this?
from Earth.
Do you have proof of any of this? Do you have proof of multiple
Like I
suns?
say, guys, I haven't been to a view.
No,
So
but
you're
there's a
just
bloody
making
good
stuff up
picture of it.
now so that you don't have
Well,
to
love them
say that you're
pictures.
wrong.
Loved Spider-Man as well, but I don't believe in him. But no, I think
But that's a
unless you wanna
picture
put-
that a person has taken with a camera, well, with a telescope camera.
Yeah, not me.
So what? That's
So,
called the genetic fallacy. You can't just
No,
dismiss
it's
it because you
called-
didn't do
it's
it.
called- I haven't said it's not. I've said I'll keep an open mind until I've made a great picture like that with a telescope myself. No problem. I'm not trying to debunk you guys. I'm just saying, don't know.
Just bunk.
I only know what I've done myself, and that's why I recommend to everyone else that they check the moonlights, check
Okay.
the star with
Howard.
the camera, and look at
Howard, since
buildings.
you absolutely
like-
wanted to dodge the question, let me give you some answers here. Since you wanted to dodge the question, let me give you some answers here. On a flat Earth,
Dodge
since
it.
we
I
know the
told
sun
you
can
from
never
the start,
go...
I don't know.
Well, no, you try to bring up religion. It has nothing to do with the actual observation since light doesn't, bend around stuff. It goes in straight lines. On a flat Earth, with anti-corpuscular rays, they would never converge at or above the horizon because the sun can never go below, physically, the Earth. Now, my observation,
Thank you.
oddly enough, which was 15 minutes
Who
after
says it's
sunset...
physical?
Do what?
Who said the sun's physical, bro? You're making assumptions, aren't you? You're talking about
Well,
the
because,
physical,
again, on my
Physical to
channel...
me-
Again, on my
the
channel,
sun
when you
is.
actually use a solar filter, you can actually see surface features of the sun.
I can see
Like
the surface
sunspots.
of the moon. I can see the surface of the moon, but I can also
you have
see
any-
stars showing
But
through
to
the
stay on the
Listen,
point that you're trying to avoid now,
Yeah, I know it's the same
with
point. The moon's
anti-crustal rays-
transparent.
No, it's
The
not.
moon's
and
transparent.
since
but
you're
it's
trying
not
to
physical, is it?
divert, since I actually have evidence that supports a globe, because the flat earther that actually brought this up actually gave me exactly what we should expect on a globe. He didn't know that I already had footage for that, which is 15 minutes after sunset, when we saw the crepuscular rays, we turned around with the drone, saw where the anti-crepuscular rays were converging at, which was above the horizon, which means that the sun had to physically be below the horizon itself. That is the
If
only
it's
way
physical.
that can happen.
If it's
Even if
physical.
it's just a ghostly light that's emanating light in all directions, it still has to be below the horizon, physically below the horizon.
Same for that.
Well, let me rephrase that: geometrically below the horizon.
The point is, Howard, there is an explanation for these things on the globe that fits with the model and the physics that we understand and know. But there is no explanation for it on a flat Earth apart from, well, the sun could be some magical entity. But I'm sorry, Harry Potter isn't real.
Actually, you're mistaken about that as well. If you do the
Sorry, what did you just say? Harry
experiments of
Potter's real?
light-
Did you just say Harry Potter's real?
I said that you're mistaken to think that there's no power of intent. You're mistaken to think there's no power in prayer. You're mistaken to think that magic
no.
doesn't exist.
No, I'm not.
There's people all over.
Magic doesn't exist. Magic isn't
I'm
real.
just going to say
Sorry.
this once. I'm going to say this
Do you
once
know
to see if this
magic
works.
is, Craig?
Spell the Armus.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's like I said, vampires
You're still here.
trigger
You're
words.
still here.
They
It
don't
didn't work.
believe in
Harry Potter's
cannibalism.
not real.
Hey,
Harry
Fair
Potter's
enough,
real.
can I ask you a
but,
question?
magic is.
Howard.
I'm
Howard, can I
clipping
ask you a
that.
question?
Thank you, Howard.
Yeah, can you tell me in your best description what the wave function is? I'll take just a basic description, or I'll take an equation.
The what? Sorry, the wave
What the wave function is, yeah.
function.
With Harry
What?
Potter's
Yeah,
building, I'm done.
you were talking. Hey, hold on. Hey, listen. You were just talking about quantum mechanics and how quantum mechanics explains all this, and how you came in here with some understanding and knowledge, and then I asked you the most basic of questions. Okay, the most basic. I just wanted to see if you even knew what you were talking about when it came to quantum mechanics. The fact that you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say what is the wave function, the fact
you
that you
on
don't
about
have
the
any
wave-
idea means that you should not, listen, you should not try to talk about quantum mechanics or light or anything like that. Just stick to it being a particle and you'll be fine, okay?
If
You don't
you're
know
on
what you're
about the
talking
duality,
about, you sound stupid.
you make me sound stupid, mate. But I know what I
Listen.
know. Yeah. If you're asking
I-
me
Oh,
about
no, you
this
do that all on your own.
You think Harry Potter's real?
slit experiment where it can be a wave or a particle, yeah, that's all great.
I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you a trick question. I didn't ask you a trick question. Okay.
No, I know, but I
asked
was
you a
trying
very
to. I was trying
basic
to
and
verify
simple
what the
question.
question
Okay.
straight away. You want to try and humiliate me because that's how you debunk people, is it?
No, I wanted to know what your level of quantum understanding was. Did
Right.
you even understand? Have you even watched enough YouTube videos to know what a wave function is? And you haven't. Watch some more fucking
And that's
quantum
my
physics
question
videos.
was: are you talking about a wave? What they theorize light does? That's dual split. Bloody hell, I can't remember the name of it. Split.
You're talking about
The
the dual split
Hey,
experiment.
Dual split
stop while
Yeah,
you're
the
ahead,
dual
okay?
split.
Listen, stop.
Is that what you're
Stop
talking
while
about?
you're ahead.
Not really. No.
Stop. Listen. Just stop. Stop while you're ahead. Okay.
Right. I think
You
we
don't
need to
know
give
what
him the
you're
litmus
talking
test,
about,
guys.
just stop there.
All right, 2 questions for you,
Yes,
Howard.
please. Here we go.
All right, 10 to the negative 17. Is that a positive or a negative number?
I don't know. I
Okay,
imagine positive.
Honest answer?
Right.
Honest answer?
I've got a triangle of
He
size
said
1.
he said positive.
You said positive.
I would
Okay,
guess.
all right.
Go
I
ahead.
would guess.
Yeah, yeah.
He
All
said
right,
he
you're right, it's
imagined it, so half a point. Half a point.
Right, I have a triangle of sides 1, 1, and 1. What are the internal angles?
Was it 180 degrees or 30? I can't remember. I just know what you're going to say. If you do it on a ball, the different angle. No one's ever done that.
No, I'm not asking that.
He's asking on a flat surface. On a flat surface.
I just want to know if you know what the internal angles of a triangle
It's
of
not
sides
a
1, 1, and
gotcha.
1 are.
I don't remember, to be honest. Like I say, I've been revising so many.
I'm going to stick up for the guy. I'm going to stick up for the guy. He did. I'm going to stick up for Howard here. I'm going to stick up for Howard here. He did say 180 right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So you got to give it.
Divide 180 by 3 and you get 3 lots of 60. But ask Stephen Steen, you can't do that. But guys, I think we're going to have to end it there. Howard, thank you very much for coming on and presenting what you have. This actually has been a much more interesting conversation than I've had with any flat earther recently. And I think we can all agree with that. You have some very, very basic misunderstandings of physics, which I sincerely hope that you can rectify. Because if you just started realizing some very, very few things, you would realize that you are very wrong. Please keep doing your experiments, but have proper controls when you do them, and realize that light can't cool things.
That's an assumption, and that's deflecting from doing it. Help me by getting people to verify the results by doing the experiments instead of just making assumptions.
Believe me,
because someone
it's been done. Just type Greater Sapien moon. Right, just type in Greater Sapien moonlight test. Okay, he's done it for us.
I'm going to give him 1 point out of the 2 questions. I'm going to give him 1 point out of 2 questions because he was halfway right on both.
Yeah, you get 50%. Well done. That's a D. It's a basic pass.
That's better than the 0% most people come up with on those two.
Hey, I would like to be completely right. So I want to correct Craig on one thing. He said Stephen Steen said that 180 degrees couldn't be divided by 3, and that's not correct. He said 160 could not be divided by 3. Get that correct, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. I apologize, Stephen. But seriously, Howard, thank you for coming on.
Internal angles add up to 160.
It's been an interesting conversation, and I do appreciate that. Going to read the super chats and then get out of here, guys. But just before we go, if you haven't heard, Kyle Curtis did not put in a challenge to Steve McRae's legal case, and he has, defaulted basically.
He's defaulted the case.
Yeah. So
which means Kyle lost.
Yeah.
Now it's up to the judges to say what he lost.
Yeah. So Kyle, it's been confirmed. Kyle lied about putting in a counterclaim, and he lied about having a lawyer in the first place. And all that is left at this point is for a judge to decide what Steve could rightfully get. So justice has prevailed, and Kyle has been fucked over. If you guys want to keep any videos from the Non Sequitur channel, I advise downloading them now, because I think, and Sean agreed with this, that the channel will probably be deleted very soon. So congratulations to Steve. Well done. All right, super chats. But before we do super chats, Howard, I'll just give you 5 minutes. Just any final thoughts? I think that's only fair.
Well, thank you for having me. I tried to prepare as much as I can, and I was hoping to share some of these links on the chat, but it gave me too much. It wouldn't let me put all the characters. I want people to look into cymatics. The science where if you put frequencies under a metal plate, you can get sand and water to form beautiful geometric patterns. The reason I think this is important is because music is tuned to 440 hertz, recommended by Joseph Goebbels. It used to be tuned at 432. An experiment that you can do with cymatics with the 2 frequencies shows that 432 is a much better image than the 440. It's distorted. We are 70% water. So if we're listening to distorted music, it will have an effect on us. And where Craig says he doesn't watch television, but he does listen to music, remember that choruses are there's subliminal tones that we don't hear in a lot of new music, and I'm sure a lot of old music. They've admitted that Taylor Swift puts it in a new music, subliminal hidden messages. And then there's backmasking. It's been going on since the Beatles. That's so that
Please
your
don't talk about music.
subconscious understands it backwards. So be careful what music.
Please don't talk
you
about
listen
music to a musician.
Say again?
Please don't talk about music to a musician.
Both Sean and I are musicians.
Good on you. Also, you'll like acoustic levitation if you're musicians, because that's like cymatics. It shows how sound vibrations can also lift matter as well as making it form a beautiful pattern, which suggests that might be how they built all these ancient temples with advanced understanding that we don't know now. And if you are interested in seeing how this might be a possibility, look at star in a jar, where they pass frequencies through a bubble in water in a vacuum, and a star is formed, which could be a little universe or a little flat earth, who knows. The point is, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't learn in school, and there's a lot of stuff coming out. So I really recommend everyone keep making inquiries, and don't just go to the debunk videos. Try and be unbiased and do a little bit of research and listen to people's whole stories, like Craig has done for me tonight. Thank you, Craig, for having me, and I would love to come back maybe in a few weeks when I've had time to sort out my notes and get a few more things that you guys have recommended researched.
All right, feel free to post those links in the Discord, by the way, if you'd like to. Okay?
I would love to. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No worries. All right, let's start off with Stephen Steen, $1.99 US. Scientology created the Globe cult. You got me there. Another $1.99 from Stephen Steen. Sean is an OT5 Scientologist operating Thetan. Are you a level 5 Scientologist, Sean?
Not that I'm aware of,
You're
but just to adjust drums too.
We need to do some kind of musical collab, Sean, definitely. $2 US from Flattened Destruction. This kind of stuff is exactly why I want to get on. Yeah, Flattened, we will get you on to do a debate someday, mate, absolutely. US dollar $2.99 from James Collins. I don't know what it is, but I know what it is. 20 Nokias from Team Skeptic Clone. Thanks a lot for being you guys, love heart. And another 10 Nokias from Team Skeptic Clone with no message, thank you. And £2 from King Kong Sex Dungeon with no message. $2 from Nick Houghton. How about doing an experiment with no moon? Yeah, very, very good point. $1.99 US from Jose Reyes. Send me the link. I will read it. I speak Spanish. Again, Howard, if you post all the links that you had in the Discord, and anyone feel free to go and find them. £2 from Gablier 3000. Typical refusing to see evidence he has to see. $10 from Paul Reap with no message, thank you. $10 from Spike Smith. Q for guest. If they are spraying chems to cover the ground, why are the trails just vapor evaporating at high altitude instead of actually spraying ground, e.g. crop dusters or wildfire drops? So he's basically saying if they're trying to get chemicals to cover the ground, why do they just spray it in the air?
Which would be the absolute most inefficient way of trying to cover an area, by the way, spraying it miles in the air.
To be fair, I don't think that Howard was saying that they are trying to cover the ground with chemicals.
Thank you. I'm not assuming. That's why I don't say chemtrails.
Well,
I say weather modification. That's what they call it.
Right. So
my question is there any side effects?
That, you know.
$1.99 US from John Park. Is this guy Flat Earth Jesus' son, or at least related? No, he's probably too old to be Flat Earth Jesus' son, because Flat Earth Jesus is only 48. $5 US.
He did not age well.
$5 US from Stringer News 1. Did Mr. Stirp take each and every one of the mudflood photos himself? He castigated FTFE for not doing so is he a hypocrite? $5 from Stringer News 1. How dare you? $20 from Paul Reap. Later FTFE, Team Skeptic, and the rest of the gang, you have this. $2 Canadian from Uthred, son of Uthred, with no message, and $5 Australian from John Rapp. Why is Gleam Live so different than the shock troll we see in chat? Still a misinformed dumbass. I'd like to get Gleam on for a chat because I think he's really quite interesting to talk to. Let me just check, see if there's any more. And another $5.
Well, I would like to.
Rapp. Ignore last. I'm distracted at work. For fuck's sake, I found him like a drongo. I am handsome, so there's that. Yeah, we know you're gorgeous, John Rapp.
I would like to point out that one super chat was actually quite valid here. You actually said that you don't like third-party evidence because you didn't do it yourself, or people in the debate that were here tonight didn't do it themselves. But yet you're presenting all the stuff that you haven't done yourself, or they're not here. So do you see the hypocrisy there?
I'm quoting things that are pro information. So they're telling us that they're doing weather modification. I'm not saying it's chemtrails.
Wait. You said they're
I'm
doing
just
pro.
saying what they're saying is.
Let's define your pro information here. Are you talking about just a news source, or are you talking about the scientific consensus? Because the scientific consensus in your article disagrees with you.
I'm saying that if they publish information on a government website telling you that they're doing something, yeah, and it's likely that there's truth to it because we can see it in the skies. It's
okay, what's your government source for the mud flood stuff? What's your government source for your mud flood stuff?
I've been to India and I've seen lots of temples that have been excavated, like the Kalisa temple. I've seen temples that are still needing to be excavated, so there's definitely evidence of mud flood there. Plus, there's lots of...
If they haven't been excavated, how have you seen them?
Some have been excavated and some haven't. Some still need to be
excavated. And you said you've seen the ones that haven't been excavated. Do you see a contradiction there?
No, you see the top of the building.
Right.
You see the top of the building, and the rest of it's under mud. Quite simple. You need to excavate to see the whole building, don't you?
Basements have windows, lovely. But I think that is where we're going to leave it for tonight. Thank you, Team Skeptic and Sean, for coming on and help moderate. Howard, thank you again for coming on. I really do appreciate the conversation. One of the best flat earth conversations I've had in a long time. But remember, guys, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flat. Fight the flat.